across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. I'm your host, Kevin O'Sullivan, and I'll be with you all the way to 10 o'clock. Stand by for 3 thrilling hours of news, views and topical debate. Get involved, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It is Monday, January the 12th. Here's what's coming up. As Iran shuts down social media and Starmer considers taking a leaf out of the Mad Mullah's book by closing Twitter, Reform UK's London Mayor candidate Layla Cunningham says she would favour banning the burqa. Layla is a Muslim. So is Reform's new recruit, former Tory Chancellor Nadhim Zahawi, as is leading Reform light Zia Youssef. If these British Muslims want to outlaw the full face coverings that reduce women to second-class citizens, isn't it about time that Labour listened? 0344 499 1000. But don't hold out too much hope if the government's weirdly muted response to the Iranian uprising is anything to go by. Two-tier Keir, Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper and other ministers merely wittering on about protecting the people's right to protest against the Ayatollah's repressive theocratic regime. Verbiage as empty as it is pointless, considering the murderous mullahs are busy killing hundreds of demonstrators on the streets as we speak. Should the UK's reaction be just a little bit more robust? 0344 499 1000. Shouldn't Keir's crew be calling for the end of the tyranny in Iran? Shouldn't Labour be making it crystal clear that they want the disgusting dictator Ayatollah to fall? And since they obviously are not, why is that? 0344 499 1000. Meanwhile, still with Starmer's strange reticence over Iran, why won't he prescribe that bunch of violent thugs, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, as a terrorist organisation? He has refused to do so. Donald Trump saying, get on your bike, get it done. He won't do it. Is this Keir yet again worrying about losing the Muslim vote? 0344 499 1000. Mirroring the government's shoulder-shrugging standoffishness over Iran, the BBC has been slammed for its failure to properly cover the potentially world-changing events in a country where the fall of the Ayatollah would dramatically alter the geopolitical landscape in the Middle East. Furious critics accuse the British state broadcaster of acting like a mouthpiece for the ruthless, ruinous rulers of Iran. Why were the dramatic events in Tehran and all the other Iranian cities so far down the Beebs news schedule? Anything to do with Iran unravelling being a triumph for Israel? Just asking. 0344 499 1000. In other news, will Keir actually ban Twitter? And why does this gormless government want to? Is this current row over grok deepfake bikini posts genuinely about X crossing the line? Or is it about A, Labour's hatred of Elon Musk, and B, Labour's hatred of free speech? You decide. 0344 499 1000. Twitter empowers individuals to publish their dismay. It enables them not to have to suffer in silence. Do you reckon Labour likes the avalanche of criticism it gets on X every minute, every hour, every day? Do you think Labour might possibly pounce on a way to snuff out that forum for public fury? Do you believe Starmer and the gang are capable of Soviet-style suppression and free speech? Of outright authoritarian censorship? Surely not. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. Plus, the growing storm surrounding West Midlands Police Chief Constable Craig Guilford, who MPs are now demanding must be fired after his disastrous performance before an emergency parliamentary committee last week. Did this guy lie to Westminster's finest about his reasons for banning Jewish Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from their team's Europa League match at Aston Villa? Craig said Dutch police advised him to bar the Tel Aviv supporters. The Dutch police insist they did no such thing. Craig says that he consulted with Israeli cops ahead of the controversial fixture. Israeli cops insist he did no such thing. Is Chief Constable Guilford just a liar trying to fib his way out of the fact that he collaborated with Birmingham's Muslim extremists and then tried to cover it up? Should he be sacked? Like, kind of now? 0344 499 1000. Also tonight, the crazy cost of Crazy Ed Miliband's net zero madness. Wait for it, a staggering £4.5 trillion over the next 25 years, which will bankrupt Britain. How much longer do we have to put up with this lunatic's dangerous insanity? 0344 499 1000. Plus, is the BBC's smash hit show Traitors racist? The Guardian thinks it is. Go figure. 0344 499 1000. And finally, Royal Guru Kinsey Schofield on Harry's grand plans to bring Meghan back to Britain and have his dad, the King, open the Invictus Games. It's all happening according to Harry's spin machine, but is it? Good luck with that, Prince. Good luck with that, the Duke of Sussex. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Monday night together. And let's go straight over to my first guest. It being Monday, it's my Monday friend. We always kick the week off in fine style with Talk's excellent international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Welcome, Isabel.
Good evening, Kev. Well, we haven't been banned yet, but who knows how long we've got under this government.
I know. I put on Twitter a plug for the show this afternoon. I said, well, I thought I might as well plug it now on Twitter, on X, while I still can. We'll talk about that in a little while. Pretty eventful day today. Your thoughts on Nadeem Zahawi? Massive Tory scalp, of course. Former Chancellor, former serious bigwig in the Conservatives. Left the politics in a way under something of a cloud over his tax affairs. Hadn't really paid his taxes, therefore left under a cloud. But no doubt he'll be able to bring, as he made very clear today, some useful advice to Nigel Farage and Reform about how to govern the business and the machinery of government. He knows how it works. So he's a good catch. He's a big name. Do you think it's a good thing? Because a lot of Reform supporters are saying enough already. Enough of this disaffected Tories. Reform is turning into a dumping ground for Tories who lost their seat at the last election and don't think they'll gain one back at the next election. I believe that it's very important that Farage and the rest of the party articulate that I don't think it is a bad thing. I don't think it is a bad thing, because I've always said that what Reform are, they are what the traditional Conservative Party used to be. The Tory Party has abandoned Conservative values. Reform UK has taken them on board, embraced them and exudes them. And it's not surprising that disaffected Tories, fed up with the increasing tendency of the Tory party to be sort of left-wing and migrant-friendly and, kind of Me Too and all that. It's not surprising that old-school Tories are finding a happier berth with Reform. Do you agree?
Well, first of all, I totally understand why some Reform supporters or people that are thinking about backing Reform are concerned about this announcement today. The reason they're concerned is because the last thing they want is another party that looks and feels like the failed Conservatives. You know, I'm as angrier than most people about the massive betrayals and failures of the Conservative government, which we all had to endure for far too long. So what reform supporters don't want, they really, really don't want, is more of the same. So I get that. But in Nadhim Zahawi, they're not getting more of the same. First of all, I'd be astonished if he has his sights on going back into the House of Commons. I don't think he wants to be an MP again. And
he wants to be a Lord because he asked the Tories, didn't he? And they said no. And that seems to be the story that leads to him defecting to Reform.
Well,
apparently he wrote to the Conservatives saying, can I be a Lord? And they basically said, no, you're a tax dodger, therefore you can't be a Lord. So now he's switched, he's crossed the House, as it were.
Well, that would be speculation. I don't know if that's the case. That's not really how it works when it comes to nominations for peerages. You don't generally write and say, can I be a peer? But anyway, I think that he has been pretty disaffected for a long time.
Yeah, sure.
He's very ideologically aligned with Reform. But let me just go to why is he worth having for Reform? Number one, he has a lot of government experience, and Reform is constantly being told it doesn't have enough people at the heart of the party at a senior level to form a government in future. You know, they've only got 5 MPs. And however many by-elections there might be between now and the next general election, it's not going to lead to a multiple of 5 MPs, even if Reform wins all of those by-elections, which is unlikely. So that means that even if Reform were to win a majority next time round, you've potentially only got 5 MPs that have actually got parliamentary experience, unless you take on some people that have already been MPs. So that's a really important factor. Second, and I actually think this is more important, is that Nadhim Zahawi has a strong track record as a very successful businessman. And that is fundamental to the ethos of Reform. Yeah. Reform is entrepreneurial. Reform is a disruptor. Reform wants people who know how to make money and run successful operations. That's really important too. Thirdly, he's incredibly well connected. He's a brilliant networker, and particularly in the Middle East, he's got very, very good diplomatic connections. And fourthly, not in this order, he is a very good communicator. So he faced a bunch of quite difficult questions in that press conference today, and I thought he handled them really well. He's a good performer, and he handled them with good humor, and he was very quick off the mark. So that's me selling it to people who are tonight feeling, you know what, gosh, I mean, is this the way the party's going? Are we just going to have an endless stream of retreads? The answer to that is no. It is so much more exciting to that, but we do need some figures like Nadhim Zahawi.
Let's have a look at Nadhim performing today at the press conference to announce his defection.
So I stand here with the leader of my new party to offer my help and my insights to the dynamic, confident team that Nigel Farage is building, and to urge others from across all the other parties and the many millions who until now felt that politics isn't for them to come and join us. Come and join us. You know Britain is broken. You know it needs reform.
I don't think anyone would argue with that. Now, let me just quickly, we've got another 5 minutes before we go to break, and I want to talk about this, Isabel, because Nadhim Zahawi is obviously a Muslim. He hails from Iraq. He was born in Iraq. It's my understanding he's not a particularly devoted or devout Muslim, but that's up to him. That's his business. But he is a Muslim. You've also got Zia Youssef, of course, leading light in the party, who's also a Muslim. And, of course, now we have Layla Cunningham, the London mayor candidate, who is a practising Muslim. She, quite justifiably, in my view, says it's got nothing to do with it. She says, first of all, I am British. I happen to be a Muslim. And I know Layla sort of slightly socially, and I know for a fact, you know, this nonsense about her being an Islamist is exactly that. Absolute crap. Absolutely not true. She's just a British citizen who wants to do the best for her country, just as she wanted to do the best for Westminster Council. So the point is that, I've asked Layla this before, and Layla gave an interview yesterday to the Sunday Telegraph, and she makes no bones about it. She would favour the banning of the burqa. She said that as a Muslim woman, she basically, probably as mayor, she won't be able to ban it. You can't ban it in a city. You have to ban it in a country. She said if the country doesn't ban the burqa, what she would do as London mayor, as also the head of the Met Police, which is what the London mayor is, she would instruct the police to stop and search anyone with a full face covering on, which may include other people other than women forced to wear this all-over burqa covering. So that's what she said. She said she would favour the banning of the burqa, but if we can't ban it nationally, she would get the police in London to stop and search anyone they saw with a full face. So she's making her feelings very clear about the burqa. She doesn't like it. She doesn't want it in this country. Zia Youssef has said the same, and I'm pretty certain that their other big-name Muslim now, Nadim Zahawi, would echo those views. So I guess my question is more and more we hear this. You've got countries like France, Austria, Switzerland, Tunisia, Sri Lanka, for God's sake, you know, Tunisia, a Muslim country, have all banned the burqa. I mean, I know it's a long shot, but isn't it about time Labour listened to this and thought about it? Yeah, I know. Well, just answer, you know, I'm going through the motions.
Yeah, and much as I love Layla's idea of it, you know, for London, of it being a prompt for stop and search, the police would be incredibly busy, wouldn't they? Because there are so many burqas in certain parts of London, particularly Knightsbridge, by the way. You know, one of the most probably the most affluent part of London is absolutely full of burqas. I think that what's happening in Iran, the uprising of the most incredibly brave women who are throwing off their burqas, taking off those repressive garments in a very repressive regime, shows actually a bit of the truth about the burqa, that most women, you know, I don't know there's anyone's done an enormous global survey on this in which women tell the truth, but I don't think most women want to wear those things. I wouldn't dream of telling any country in the Middle East where I live what they should and shouldn't do. But for the UK, I don't think the burqa is appropriate wear. I recoil at it when I see it in the UK, and frankly I see many more burqas in the UK I do here in Dubai, in the Middle East.
Yeah, they're not particularly popular in Muslim countries, and certainly in Iran, where they're compulsory. What is being made very clear right now is the women in particular are rising up in fury and saying, we don't want to wear these damn things anymore. So my kind of thought is, I mean, I know Labour will never do it because they're so cravenly worried about the Muslim vote, but while these brave women in Tehran and around Iran risk their lives saying, let us show our faces again, it would be nice if Britain showed some solidarity and said, well, you know what, we're going to ban those damn things.
Yeah, look, I just don't think that they are aligned with our values and the kind of equality that Labour particularly goes on and on and on and on about. How are they a symbol of equality? They are the absolute opposite of that, and yet Labour, champions of equality and diversity and inclusion, are curiously silent on that discrepancy, aren't they?
They are, and they're curiously silent on Iran generally, as is the BBC, and we'll talk about that, both those elements of this unfolding story, when we come back, Isabel. esteemed state broadcaster, the BBC, that we all have to pay £180, $220 or so a year by law to fund, was foisting upon us a practising paedophile.
A couple of days before, I was at the Trick Awards because James Well, the guy I used to work with, got a Lifetime Achievement Award, and he was sitting on a table with all BBC executives, and he went up to get a prize, and they all knew this was coming, and they didn't care.
The BBC always tries to cover everything up. That's what they try to keep this a secret, and shame on them.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Right, let's talk about Labour's or our government's reaction to what's been going on in Iran, the incredible scenes as the people rise up almost as one. You know, it's thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people just demanding the downfall of the Ayatollah and that god-awful theocratic regime, which has destroyed dreams, destroyed lives, destroyed that once great country ever since the Shah fell back in 1979. Now, the Shah of Persia was no great shakes either. But what the Ayatollahs, what the mad mullahs have done to that country is an absolute disgrace, And they are currently, as we speak, killing protesters on the streets. It looks as if regime change may be on the way. Certainly the Ayatollah is in a world of trouble. Hope it gets even worse for him. Now, I would contend, still with Isabel Oakeshott, Talks International editor, by the way, that Keir Starmer, Yvette Cooper, the Foreign Secretary, Labour should be singing from the rooftops. Let's end this god-awful regime. The geopolitical effect in the Middle East would be dramatic and to the West's advantage, to say the least. Here's Nigel Farage, who attended a protest today against the Ayatollah outside the Iranian embassy. Let's have a little listen to what the Reform UK leader had to say.
You beautiful Persian people, you wonderful people, you freedom fighters. This time, are we going to win? Yes, we are! We're going to win. And it is a terrible price being made by many innocent people in every Iranian city right now. But you've got to believe that this is the moment.
We really appreciate you. May God bless you, and we wish everything.
Well, may God bless all of you, and may freedom for Iran.
Well, in my view, that's the way to do it. What have we had from the Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary and various other members of that cabinet crew? It's this. They basically, all of them have just said, we call upon the Ayatollah to respect the right of the people to protest, to peacefully protest, which is, as I said in my monologue, that is as empty as it is pointless. We call upon the Ayatollah to protect the people's right to protest. As he's out in his people, his mad mullahs are out in the streets murdering people as we speak. So this really strange, muted response to potential regime change in Iran, we as a Western democracy should be like Nigel Farage, calling for the downfall of this god-awful tyranny that has ruined that country and ruined life for its 90 million residents for what is it now, 50 years or so. Well, that's what the Prime Minister should be doing. That's what the Foreign Secretary should be saying. That's what the Cabinet should be saying. Instead, we call upon the Ayatollah to protect the people's right to protest. Why so muted, do you think, Isabel?
I mean, could it be that the collapse of the regime would be a massive victory for Israel? Might that perhaps have something to do with it.
I knew there was a reason. I knew it.
Yeah, look, I've been astonished by the lack of kind of energy and enthusiasm and solidarity, that's the word, from our government for what is potentially the most momentous revolution since the fall of the Berlin Wall. I mean,
It's huge. It's huge.
If this regime were to collapse, the effect on world politics would be absolutely seismic. You know, it changes everything about the dynamics of the Middle East, absolutely everything. And it changes a lot for the UK. I mean, when you think of the most hostile states, the most dangerous regimes, the ones that pose the greatest threat to our peace and prosperity in the UK, they are Russia and Iran. Those are the two, and China, arguably, those three, that kind of axis of evil. And Iran is right up there. So why is there such kind of quiet about this? It is really, really disturbing. And you're right about the BBC. I mean, towards the end of last week and over the weekend, I kept on refreshing on the BBC website, thinking I'm desperate for updates about what's going on in Iran, desperate to hear the latest, the breaking news, the developments. And even on the world pages, which is what I see automatically here in the Middle East, there's basically nothing there. I was so bewildered about this that I rang a very, very well-known BBC insider, somebody whose name I won't share, but everybody would respect this person, and said, look, what is going on here? Am I missing something?
Yeah.
And the answer that came back is not that there's any kind of conspiracy here, but was a load of, frankly, respectfully, blah about how difficult it is for the BBC to verify what's going on.
Oh, give me a break.
I like, because you can't have any journalists in there. And I'm thinking, yes, but there's a ton of material coming out of Iran, and you can just report it with caveat.
Well, listen.
And I'm really worried, Kev,
Yeah.
I'm getting really worried that the regime is regaining some kind of upper hand. That is what really worries me, because the executions that are going on now, the summary murders that are going on, we see this from footage, are terrifying.
Yeah. Well, you've run ahead of my very carefully choreographed schedule here, because I was going to do the BBC next. We'll come back to that in a minute. That's not your fault, by the way. It doesn't matter anyway. It's all very relevant. To go back, we'll return to the BBC in just a little while, but to go back to the government, to Starmer and the gang, Trump's people, America, the American government has made it very, very clear today that that Britain should, and indeed must, prescribe Iran's infamous Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC as they're called, as a terrorist organisation. The government is adamant it will not ban this lot. Why not? They're a bunch of murderous thugs. This is our moment. Let's ban them. Let's prescribe. If you're going to prescribe Palestine action, bunch of middle-class idiots going around spray painting aeroplanes on RAF bases, surely we can prescribe bona fide Muslim maniacs who murder and rape their citizens. Why won't Labour ban the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps? Why won't they do that? Trump is saying it's obvious they're a terrorist organisation, you must ban them. Why is Starmer resisting that, do you think, Isabel?
I mean, for the same reason maybe that he's manifestly failed to ban the Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah.
You know, again and again, he's chosen not to ban the Muslim Brotherhood, more Islamic extremists. And, you know, there's an extraordinary story a few days ago about how the Emiratis, the Emirati leadership, will no longer support Emirati students to go to UK universities because they're worried about the influence of the Muslim Brotherhood. I mean, it comes to something, doesn't it, when we're shamed and humiliated by moderate Muslim countries about allowing radical Islam to mushroom in our own country, a supposedly Christian country.
Yeah, and Saudi Arabia has banned the Muslim Brotherhood. I think where you are, they've banned the Muslim Brotherhood. All these Muslim countries, these Islamic countries across the Middle East have banned the Muslim Brotherhood, but in Britain, we don't ban the Muslim Brotherhood. In fact, weirdly, the only European country to ban the Muslim Brotherhood is Austria. The rest of the countries don't. You cannot help but conclude that Starmer and the rest of Europe's craven leaders are just terrified about losing the Muslim vote. I mean, if you could just sit old Starmer down and say, listen, Keir, why don't you just forget about the Muslim vote? Pursue other potential votes you might be able to gain. It would make him such a happier man, and we, Britain, would have far more cogent, sensible policies about the Islamist threat, wouldn't we?
Indeed, and it's pretty concerning about what does it say about the state of our country if Labour figures are worried about losing votes from if they were to ban the Muslim Brotherhood. That says that they think there are a lot of Muslim Brotherhood sympathisers in the UK, which there are. And that in itself is something that needs to be rooted out, because it is not taking our country in a good direction.
It's certainly not. Now, breaking news, Isabel, you'll be excited by this. Yvette Cooper has tweeted in the last hour. She's gone on to X. While she still can. She said, before she bans it and her mates ban it, she's tweeted this: the killing and brutal repression of peaceful protesters in Iran is horrific. I have spoken to Foreign Minister Araghchi and told him directly the Iranian government must immediately end the violence, uphold fundamental rights and freedoms, and ensure British nationals are safe. Why did she even waste her time posting that? What does that...
The Iranian government has never done any of the things that she's listed there. Never. They have never done that. This regime has never done that in peace times when they weren't under pressure. So I don't think that, having had a little call from Yvette Cooper, they're going to go, oh gosh, yes, the British Foreign Secretary has called us and asked us to keep British nationals safe. Yeah. I mean, frankly, any British national that ventures anywhere near Iran, even before this, is pretty likely not to be coming back home again. So that won't be happening. Complete waste of space.
Yeah, I mean, when she tweets this, the killing and brutal repression of peaceful protesters in Iran is horrific. I'm with her there, absolutely. And then she says, uphold fundamental rights and freedom, ensure British... What about tweeting something about the British government's desire for this god-awful regime to fall? I mean, because Labour seem to be missing the point. If Iran falls, this is going to be a tremendous day for the West. Fantastic day for the West. Our government doesn't seem to be at all keen on that happening. Is it that they are so blinded by their hatred of Israel that they don't want in any way something to happen that Israel would be pleased about, as in the fall of Iran? Is it as pathetic as that?
I really am sort of lost for words as to how to explain why anyone wouldn't want to recognise the danger that the Iranian regime, as it is at the moment, poses to the whole world, to the whole civilized world, and how horrendous it is to live under for the Iranian people. And I have no difficulty with this. It's straightforward. I'm with Nigel Farage. I would just be able to straightforwardly say this is an abhorrent, terrifying, hideous regime in which people are not able to live remotely good and free lives, and we want to see the back of it. And I just hope that Trump makes good on his pledge to stand with the Iranian people. It really feels like what is needed now is for America to deliver the death blow to the regime, because there is a limit to what people can do, ordinary people, as brave and incredibly courageous as they're being. You know, the regime has guns, the regime has the tools with which to mow them down and execute them. And it's going to take something more, I think.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that when we come back, the American response, perhaps a little bit more on the BBC. So we're going to carry on discussing the dramatic events, the turbulence in Iran, where I guess if Trump plays his cards right, if the West plays our cards right, you know, we can assist the downfall of this disastrous regime, the Ayatollah and his mad mullahs, this religious tyranny that they impose on 90 million long-suffering citizens who've never liked it, never wanted it. They just yearn to get their freedom back. Maybe, just maybe, we should be helping the uprising along the way to get rid of the Ayatollah. Good day for us, good day for the Iranians. What's not to like? Let's talk about that when we come back.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, still with Talk's international editor Isabel Oakeshott. Yeah, to go back to the BBC, Isabel, I mean, is this the same as the government that we've been speculating? Do you think it's that the BBC just never likes to see anything that arguably is a triumph for Israel? The fall of Iran will be a triumph for Israel. A lot of the reason that Iran is teetering on the edge is because of Israel. It's also because of the West. It's because of Israeli aggression against them, and it's because of sanctions by Israel and the rest of the world against Iran. And now Iran's economy is, you know, to say it's in the toilet is an exaggeration. It's too generous. It's an absolute basket case. So that's why the regime there is unraveling. But this was towards the end of last week, as it was already really happening on Friday. And you were hard-pressed to find any reports on the BBC. It wasn't even their lead story going into Friday. Why do you think that is? Is it because they just hate at the BBC to see anything that's good for Israel?
Well, I definitely think there will be an element of that. And in fact, you know, you're right about Friday. That was one of the days where I was getting really frustrated, not finding any coverage. But actually, the protests had been pretty serious and substantial for several days by then.
Yep.
I think it was an absolute dereliction of duty by the BBC not to be covering that properly. And I was actually talking to somebody with links to the eldest son of the Shah, the figure in Washington, D.C., who is potentially going to come back and take over if this regime does fall. And he is the guy that they're all shouting for on the streets, that many of them are putting all their hopes in. And according to people in the know, BBC Persia is full of the most awful propaganda, as you might perhaps expect, which is not nearly as critical of the regime as it should be. And I just find it quite frustrating that we are still in this position where we're not getting much information. Now, I get it that the BBC, you know, it's going to hold itself to the highest journalistic standards about that, by the way. You and I have had many conversations. But that will be the ostensible reason, because, you know, they just can't make any mistakes, etc., etc., etc. But I don't think that's good enough. I would still like to have seen a bunch of reports that said, look, we've got this unverified footage, this is what we're hearing, and here are the implications if this goes all the way. And it just hasn't been there, has it?
No. It was clear by Friday that this was a massive story. There was loads of footage around to prove that this uprising was huge and unfolding in every major Iranian city, particularly Tehran. So the BBC's decision to stick it way down its news schedule is really suspicious. I don't know what was going on in their heads, and any old claptrap about it was so difficult to verify. Well, no other news organisation in the world was having any difficulty putting together a serious picture of revolt in Iran. The BBC seem to find it almost impossible to do. Very, very strange. What do you feel about Donald Trump? Now, he was saying all last week that if the mad mullahs, if the Ayatollah and his men start killing the protesters, then America will not hesitate to act. Well, as of this morning, I believe the death toll, or yesterday I think the death toll was 538 and rising. I wouldn't mind betting it's not getting towards 1,000 now. They are killing the protesters, and they are killing them at an alarmingly fast rate. Now, there were stories yesterday to say that Trump wanted to act, but has been told by his military, we need a bit of planning. We can't just do this. So they haven't gone in yet. Do you think he will go in?
If I were to guess, I would say yes, absolutely. And we do know that Trump, you know, they love, his whole style is the element of surprise, isn't it? So there may well be some grand strategy here that involves sort of letting the Iranians think that the Americans have blinked, and in fact, you know, all hell is about to be unleashed on IRGC targets. That would be my great hope. And if America doesn't act now to deliver that death blow, then when will they ever? You know, that this feels like the absolute moment. It's not going to come up again. If this revolution attempt fails, if this grand, incredible uprising is crushed now, then I don't see how that regime is not just going to be more emboldened and more horrendous, more horrific and more dangerous to the world. And I'm sure that that is well recognised in the White House.
And don't forget, in 2023, there was a fair old uprising against the Ayatollah then in Iran. And as is their wont, the mad mullahs crushed that with murderous ruthlessness. And the danger here is, as you say, Isabel, this is our moment, if you like. This is the West moment. This is the moment for the Iranian people. If it doesn't work this time, we may have to wait a long time before the next time. And yes, I think that if the West can help, especially America, they damn well should, and they should do it fast. Listen, let's go to break now, and let's talk about the other very big story of the day, Labour's apparent desire to ban X, or Twitter as everybody still calls it. We'll talk about that next. our esteemed state broadcaster, the BBC, that we all have to pay £180, $220 or so a year by law to fund, was foisting upon us a practising paedophile.
A couple of days before, I was at the Trick Awards because James Well, the guy I used to work with, got a Lifetime Achievement Award, and he was sitting on a table with all BBC executives, and he went up to get a prize, and they all knew this was coming, and they didn't care.
The BBC always tries to cover everything up. That's what they try to keep this a secret, and shame on them.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Right, let's talk about Twitter, shall we, or X as it is now called. It is in trouble because of a system called Deepfake, which is the Grok facility, also owned by Elon Musk, who owns X, of course, offered to users of Twitter. And what's been happening is that nefarious individuals have been taking sort of women's heads, faces, if you like, and kind of imaging on as if they were wearing a bikini. So that's happening all over the shop. Well, I'm still with Isabel Oakeshott, Talk's international editor. Isabel, before we talk about this, let's get both sides of the story, as it were. First of all, here's a Tory leader, Kemi Badenoch, with her thoughts on the proposal to ban X.
I think banning X is the wrong answer. I'm not even sure what question it is that they're answering. What we are seeing is a Labour government that did not have a plan, and they're just throwing out random policies, probably to distract from the fact that they're putting businesses in a very difficult position. What was happening was the business rates discussion, lots of pubs complaining, and then all of a sudden Labour talks about banning X. I don't think that's a serious solution.
Here's Labour Minister Peter Kyle with his thoughts.
In this country, we have independent regulators, and when it comes to enforcement, it is not the decisions of ministers like me as to whether somebody is sanctioned or fined or not. It is about upholding the law. Now, I brought in measures that strengthen the law, that raise the ceiling on the law when it came to protecting children and protecting everybody from hate and criminal activity online. The independent regulator and enforcement agency, Ofcom, is now deciding whether X has stepped outside of the law with the way that Grok, the AI-generated chatbot, is integrated with X and is generating nudifying images. Some of the things I have seen and heard about are disgusting and clearly unlawful, and I expect that to be dealt with.
So, Isabel, what's happening to women on X at the moment is obviously wrong and disturbing, and it would be best if it could be stopped. You know, it's for somebody, it probably will happen to you before too long. They'll take your face and they will sort of graft on a bikini body. So you'll be wearing a bikini and all that. It's happened to Julia Hartley-Brewer, who says that she's furious because they haven't changed her hair. But the point is, this is bad. Of course it should be banned. It should be stopped if possible. But to be honest with you, it's not the worst horror that is unfolding on social media right now. You know, the easy access to pornography, particularly by kids, you know, hardcore porn. Women in bikinis, albeit not their own bodies. I'm not approving of that. I'm not condoning of it. It is wrong. But it is not the worst atrocity on social media. So you kind of wonder why Labour are seriously getting their knickers in a twist about this and saying we're going to ban X. They've referred it to the broadcasting watchdog, the media watchdog Ofcom. They're investigating. So my question to you, do you think this is Labour have suddenly said, well, this bikini business, this Grok, that crosses the line. They've finally gone and done it now. We're going to ban it because of this bikini Grok thing. Or do you think it's because they really hate Elon Musk and Elon Musk owns X? Elon Musk responded to Labour's proposal by sticking a picture of Keir Starmer on X with a bikini on and calling the Labour government fascists. Do you think it is that Labour don't really like freedom of speech? They don't really like social media. They don't really like the ability that X and Twitter and other sites bestow upon ordinary members of the public to have a certain power, to publish their thoughts. And the crescendo of criticism on X every day for Keir Starmer and his gormless government is off the scale. Be quite handy, quite nice for Labour to get rid of that by banning X, wouldn't it?
Well, they're not going to ban X. I think that's vanishingly unlikely, frankly inconceivable. And I mean, I'm with you on this. I'm just not that worked up about it. I'm certainly worked up about it in relation to children, but that would be illegal in any case, I'm sure. To do that in relation to children would be illegal. I mean, I've already seen a funny image of Keir Starmer today in a pair of Y fronts. I mean, it was quite humorous. I mean, I'm struggling to erase that image from my head. It was a bit unsettling, but it was just quite funny. And you know what? I'm sure that there's weird pictures of so many controversial figures, you know, all of us probably, around. You know, I'm always seeing strange pictures of politicians turned into something else. And, you know, really, it's not the worst thing in the world. I don't love it. I don't love women to be demeaned in this way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Male politicians are getting the same thing. You know, in different outfits, whatever, they're being made to look ridiculous. And that is just slightly part of our culture, isn't it? That we do allow people to use their skills to make people look ridiculous. And as long as they're clothed-ish, and it's not actually offensive, you know, I do think there are rather bigger things to be worrying about.
My suspicion is that, you know, with Liz Kendall, the technology minister, and Peter Kyle there, you know, they stand up and say, we're trying to protect children and pornography on the, you know, nobody's going to go, oh, well, you shouldn't be doing that. But I think that what they do is they say, this is all about protecting children, protecting women on social media. I'm not so sure it is all about protecting women and children on social media. I believe it's a way of getting back at Elon Musk, who is a little bit more than a thorn in Starmer's side, if you see where I'm coming from.
I think that, and I think there's an awful lot of stuff around at the moment that is just part of distracting British voters from the true failings of this government. I mean, look how quickly we all stopped talking about the Egyptian extremist Al Fatah, who the government rolled out the red carpet for. An absolutely disastrous story for this government, but they've contributed to making it go away by coming up with all sorts of other non-stories to get us all talking. Do you remember last week's we might reduce the drink driving limit to zero, you know? And it's just almost as if they're just like chucking stuff out there just to try and distract from the fundamental massive problems, including, by the way, the amount of maneuverings against Starmer himself and increasing speculation of a return to the Commons by Andy Burnham, the Manchester mayor.
Yeah, indeed. And I mean, I tend to agree with you. I mean, I think I said earlier, I'm just hoping that this government, that Starmer and his crew, his cabinet crew, do have the bandwidth to realise that if they did shut down Twitter, you know, with or without the advice or the instructions of Ofcom. Peter Kyle saying, well, you don't realise there's independent watchdogs, they're the ones who'll make the decision. Yeah, right. You know, Ofcom do it or whether the government do it, I hope that this government has got the bandwidth to realise what a catastrophic move that would be, how that would make them look like the Ayatollah. The Ayatollah shut down social media. The Ayatollah has shut down the internet. Do Labour really think it's a good look to follow suit?
I mean, there are an awful lot of people as well who actually rely on X for business reasons. You know, it's actually been around so long and is a critical part of promotion for certain types of businesses. So, you know, that may be a dimension that they haven't particularly thought of, but is an important one. That I absolutely can't see it happening. You know, it does feel a bit, well, massively like throwing the baby out with the bathwater if because of one AI capability within X, you were going to ban the whole thing. I mean, it's just not going to happen, is it?
And it would, as I say, there's no getting away from the fact, you know, this government is a socialist government. Socialists don't really like free speech. And they don't certainly like the ability of social media to empower individuals. You know, I've heard a lot of discussions to say, oh, there's no doubt about it, social media has made the world a worse place. It's caused so many problems. Yeah, I get all that. It really has caused a whole plethora of serious problems, cultural, social, political, and so on and so forth. You know, politicians now operate in a completely different world to the pre-social media politicians, people like Margaret Thatcher. People go, what would Margaret Thatcher do in these circumstances? Well, probably a lot different than she used to do because she didn't have to contend with social media. So I get all the problems with social media, but I think in the end that what politicians don't like about social media is that people no longer have to suffer in silence. You know, a housewife in Derby or a plumber in Plymouth, if they see something they don't like and they put a good tweet out, that can get millions of views. It empowers individuals against the power of the government, and I think that's what politicians in Westminster don't like, that suddenly the people have a voice. They don't have to suffer in silence over this government's, in particular, its awful policies.
Yes, it gives potentially everybody a platform and a voice, and allows complete people who are absolutely unknown to become almost overnight very, very powerful voices for change. And that is dangerous for any government. And it also routinely makes a mockery in a very entertaining way of the people who lead us. I'm thinking of the sort of fantastically entertaining depictions of Prime Minister's questions where Starmer's shown as a robot and Yvette Cooper and Rachel Reeves are shown as squawking pigeons. They're very funny. And Kemi Badenoch as a rap artist, I mean, actually, I think it's done her a whole lot of good. And, you know, they don't like this stuff, do they? And they reach for the instinctive tool of big state repressive authoritarians like Starmer and just say, oh, well, maybe we'll ban it.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say, though. Let's see what they actually will do.
Not a lot is my prediction. Yeah, very little.
Let's hope so. Fingers crossed. It would be a very bad a move against freedom of speech and freedom of expression if they shut down the world's biggest social media platform. Isabel, fantastic to talk to you. I will talk to you again very soon. That is Talk's amazing international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. When we come back, I'm going to talk to Mike Neville, former Met Police detective, about what's going on with that West Midlands Police Chief, Craig Dunlop. That next. Stay tuned.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Get on the phone, give me a call, 03444 991 1000. Is it a good idea that Reform UK have recruited former Tory Chancellor Nadhim Zahawi? Is this Tory thing, this Tory defection syndrome going a bit far now? You know, we've got now Nadhim Zahawi, previously, of course, Dame Andrea Jenkins, you've got Nadine Dorries, you've got, the list goes on, doesn't it? Who else has got crossed over? Danny Kruger, of course, and on and on. We have a long list of Tories, top Tories, who've defected to Reform UK. Nadhim Zahawi, is that one top Tory too many? Is Reform UK in danger of turning into the Conservative Party, only with a different name? What do you think about this? Is Nadhim Zahawi a good idea for reform or not such a good idea? 0344 499 1000. And also, since those brave ladies in Iran are risking their lives saying, we don't want to wear the burqa and we're not going to, and you can shoot us if you like because we're not going to wear it. Since they are taking that courageous stance, why doesn't Britain ban the burqa? We wouldn't be the only country. Quite a few Muslim countries have banned the burqa. France has banned the burqa. Switzerland's banned the burqa. Sri Lanka's banned the burqa. Tunisia's banned the burqa, and on the list goes. Why don't we join that list? Why don't we ban it? Why don't we ban full face coverings? That's what Layla Cunningham, the London Mayor candidate for Reform, wants. That's what Zia Yousaf wants, another Muslim member of Reform. And I'd hazard a guess that the new Muslim recruit, Nadhim Zahawi, would also want that. Why don't we, in Britain, ban the burqa? 0344 499 1000. And Twitter, X. What would you feel about the government banning the world's top social media site? Should they even be thinking about this? Why don't they just ban Twitter from using Grok? This is the deep fake imagery thing that allows them to create fake images of women in bikinis. Or do you really care that much? 03444 999 1000. And you might want to get on the phone about what we're going to talk about now. And that is the growing storm surrounding West Midlands Police Chief Craig Dunlop, who of course appeared before an emergency special meeting of an emergency parliamentary committee last week to explain the reasons for his decision to ban Jewish Maccabi Tel Aviv football fans from attending that club's match, that Europa League tie against Aston Villa in Birmingham. He said, oh, well, the Dutch police told me that, it was too dangerous. The hooligans, too much trouble. Oh, also, I consulted with the Israeli police and, they said, they led me to believe bad idea. So both the Dutch police and the Israeli police said, no, we haven't even spoken. No such. The Dutch police said we told him no such thing. Israeli police, nope. We were not asked about this decision. So did he lie to that parliamentary committee last week, Craig Dunlop? And if so, should he be sacked? MPs in Parliament have concluded that police chief told a pack of lies to the committee last week about his reasons. Kemi Badenoch accused him of collaborating with local Muslim Islamists, extremists, and then lying about the reason, and then conspiring with them to cover up the truth. Should he be sacked? 0344 499 1000. We're just waiting to get hold of Mike Neville now. So let's take a call first. That's Karen in Bournemouth. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Kevin. How you doing?
Hi, Karen. What would you like to say? You want to talk about Grok? You don't think we should be worrying too much about it?
No, well, I don't think they'd have the nerve to get rid of them anyway. And I mean, they can't even be bothered. They've got imams up in Birmingham going, beat your wife if she doesn't do as she's told, and don't let her out without permission. They've got no intention of doing anything about any of that. The fact that our second city is now in the control of the Islamists. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's busy arranging for the Ayatollah to get asylum over here.
Yeah, well, exactly. But I mean, don't you think that the closing down of potential closing down of a major social media site, the biggest in the world, would be quite a momentous decision by this government? It'd be quite a sort of step towards suppressing free speech, wouldn't it?
Well, it would, but that doesn't bother them.
Well, it doesn't mind about bothering. What does it bother you? It bothers me.
I know it bothers you and me, but we're just.
But they can do anything. They don't have to. They don't care what we think. That isn't the point, is it? What do we think? And I don't think they should close down X.
No, I don't think they should either. Because if they do, they'd have to close down all the other ones because they can all do the same thing.
Well, yeah, but that's the weird thing about it, Karen, isn't it? That they're just focusing on one social media site because, okay, Grok is available to Twitter users or X users because Elon Musk owns both. So this is a Grok issue. But, there's all sorts of porn problems on other social media sites as well. So why is the government focusing on X, do you think?
Well, apart from the fact that X does things like bring up the rape gangs and all of that kind of stuff and actually tells people what's really going on most of the time. I mean, I don't do any social media, so it's very difficult to be judgmental of it. But at the end of the day, he hates Musk with a vengeance, and he's a petty little man.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think you're right. I think that's what it's about. It's Labour's little war.
Oh, it's all vengeance.
Yeah, it's Labour's little war, isn't it, with Elon Musk? I do think it's an important issue. If they're going to shut down this, one hopes they won't, but they're saying that they might. And if they do that, they're talking about doing it within days rather than months.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't be able to communicate with each other because they're all on X anyway.
Well, they are, but I'm sure they'd find a way to communicate with each other. Listen, Karen, it's interesting times, though. I take your point. There are probably more important things to worry about than Twitter. There certainly are at the moment, but let's see what happens as the week progresses. Always good to talk to you, though, Karen. Thanks for an excellent call, as always. I think we're ready to talk to former Met Police Detective Mike Neville now. Are you there, Mike?
Yes, good evening, Kevin. Sorry for the connection mistakes, communication breakdown.
Well, these things happen, technological world. Next thing you know, they'll be cancelling X. Let's talk about this Craig Dunlop guy.
Craig Guilford.
Sorry,
Guilford.
Why do I see Dunlop? Who's Craig Dunlop? He's someone, isn't he? I keep calling him that. Craig Guilford. Anyway, the MPs have concluded that last week at that emergency parliamentary committee where he explained to MPs why he decided to ban Jewish Tel Aviv Maccabi fans from the Aston Villa match, the Europa League tie, MPs have concluded that he lied through his teeth and that he must be sacked. The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, is under intense pressure now to dismiss this guy. Just to recap, he told the parliamentary committee, and he said this in the past, well, what happened was I consulted with my colleagues, the Dutch police, because when Maccabi Tel Aviv played Ajax in Amsterdam, they were a nightmare. And the Dutch police said, no, you mustn't let them anywhere near Birmingham, they will cause mayhem. Dutch police said we told him no such thing. He then went on to say, well, I consulted before the match with my colleagues in Israel, Israeli cops. Israeli cops have got no record of that. They say, well, he didn't consult us. So MPs are concluding that this guy lied to Parliament last week and he must go. You alerted me over the weekend to an extraordinary detail in the recruitment of this guy, Craig Guilford. Nearly said it again, Craig Guilford. And it was this, that a local imam a local person from the Green Lane Mosque was in Birmingham was part of the panel that decided whether or not he could be West Midlands Police Chief. He was interviewed, among others, by a local imam. What the hell is that all about? Now, it's frozen again. Fantastic. It's frozen again, I'm afraid, folks. We'll try and get him back as soon as we can. Some kind of bad connection going on there. But just to recap, a Muslim imam from the local mosque, the Green Lane Mosque, was involved in an interview panel that recruited Craig Guilford to be the Chief Constable of West Midlands. So why was that? Why was there an imam involved in selecting this guy? And should he go now? Should he go now? The MPs have had enough of him. Kemi Badenoch accused him of collaborating with local Islamist extremists in the decision to ban Maccabi fans, Jewish fans, from that football match. If he did, then surely he has to go. Also, he stands accused by Kemi Badenoch of then conspiring with local Islamists to cover up the reasons. I think we're going to have another go to see if we can talk to Mike Neville now. Mike, are you there now?
Yeah, I'm here now. What I was saying, Kevin, is the massive irony here, the scandal here as well, is that Craig Guilford is the National Police Lead. He is the National Police Lead for professional standards and ethics. Yeah. So he is judging the standards of other people.
Indeed. Now, I mean, as a citizen of this country, I mean, I watched his performance last week and his acolytes. And do you remember that at a certain kind of rather dramatic point in the proceedings in Parliament last week, they came up with another excuse as to why they'd banned the Israeli fans. He said, oh, yeah, we see the Muslim community. They told us they would take up arms and there might be a war. And so the MP's going, hang on a second, you're just telling us that now? Why didn't you tell anybody this before? He said, well, nobody asked. Do you know what, Mike? For that answer alone, I contend he has to go.
Well, absolutely he has to go. I mean, when you join the police, you swear an oath to act with fear or favour. And you've got a situation here where if you have people like Muslims or whatever group they are, selecting the chief constable, and he's selected, it's almost he feels he owes them a favour. And so you cannot act without fear and favour. It just shows how having too much involvement with different identity political communities results in the police not acting like they should do. It's a disgrace. The man should... What strikes me, Kevin, is how these people cling on. If he was a man of honour, he would have resigned the minute after he said that ridiculous answer that you just said.
Yeah, and also, you know, the backbone of his argument as to why he concluded he had to ban the Jewish fans was he'd taken advice from the Dutch cops and he'd taken advice from Israeli cops. Both those police forces, the Dutch police and the Israeli police, say he did no such thing. So it looks as if, and that's what MPs think, that he sat there in Parliament and lied through his teeth. And that's why they want him to go. As you say, why is he even still there?
It is absolutely incredible that he's still there. And it's unprecedented that a chief constable would be recalled to give evidence. That shows how much they didn't believe what he was saying. But the West Midlands Police is a fiasco. Last year it was in special measures because it wasn't good enough. Now we're finding out they're being too influenced by certain community groups. It isn't good enough. The British police, the British public deserve better. And British policing used to be the model for the world, and now it's been shown as a disgrace, and I'm really saddened by that.
And why do you think it is, Mike? Well, we learnt last week that among the people that Craig Guilford consulted, and his fellow officers, in the lead up to the game, in the lead up to his decision to ban the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from Birmingham, was a preacher at a local mosque, the Green Lane Mosque, who only not long before had preached to his flock that you know, a husband has the right to beat his wife to discipline her, and that under no circumstances should a wife ever be allowed to leave the house, the home, without the permission of the husband. This guy, who holds those opinions, those medieval, anachronistic, awful, anti-women opinions, was one of the people that Craig Guilford consulted in the formation of his view that the Jews should be banned from Birmingham. I mean, is that the kind of guy you should be talking to?
It's incredible, and I found in the police there was a lot of lazy consultation. The police we consulted the community. They'll go to a mosque, they'll go here, they'll go there. Right, and because most people, they just want to work for a living and they just want to live their lives and not be bothered by these things. But the police claim they're consulting, and they often consult people with extreme views. And the answer to your question is, there's no way that this man should be directing the police. This imam should not be directing the police. But it shows how the police have just gone down a rabbit hole. They're obsessed with political correctness. They're appeasing Islam. And what it results in is Jewish fans not being able to attend a football match. The job of the police is to keep people safe. What they're admitting is we can't keep people safe because they're Jewish, and that is an outrage.
Agreed. The Green Lane Mosque had £2 million worth of government-funded suspended government funding, £2 million suspended in 2023 after videos emerged of one of its preachers basically saying that, not basically, as a matter of fact, saying homosexuality is not permissible. And then you get this other guy saying, well, you know, in order to discipline your wife, it's okay for husbands to beat them up, to physically discipline them. And of course, no woman, he said it's common sense that no woman should ever be allowed out of the house without their husband's permission. He thinks that's got government, he thinks that's common sense. Now, now we learn that an imam from the same mosque was part of the interviewing panel that decided Craig Dunlop is the man to be the West Midlands police chief, the police constable. What is that about? Why would you have a local imam on an interview panel to appoint a police chief? That's the business of the police, isn't it?
Well, it's just absolutely, the whole thing is crazy, but it just shows the way that British policing has just gone so far down this line of diversity, of DEI, all these crazy things, that all they do is let the public down. But the real bizarre things is, firstly, as I've said, Craig Guilford is the National Lead for Professional Standards and Ethics. His PCs can see him lying there. One of the biggest issues facing policing is violence against women and girls, and you've got them consulting with an imam who says you can beat up your wife. It's completely unacceptable.
A quick last question about your old police force there, the Met down here in London, Mike. The Chief Constable here, Sir Mark Rowley, who seems to stagger from one scandal and disaster to the next, he has now admitted that after last week's shocking revelations that nearly more than 17,000 officers were recruited without basic employment references and more than 5,000 were not properly vetted at all, Mark Rowley is now admitting that here in London the Met Police still has 2 convicted sex offenders who are police officers and 300 serving officers with criminal records. They should all be fired right now, shouldn't they?
It's just an outrage, and the trust and confidence in the policing is at rock bottom. All these things do is just undermine all those hard-working, brave officers who are actually trying to do their job, and it's still a mess. He's been in charge for too long now. He was an assistant commissioner. He's been the commissioner for several years now. He needs to step down. It needs new leadership, new blood. The Met used to be the envy of the world. Scotland Yard, the greatest crime fighting force in the world. No, look at it now. It's terrible, and it needs a new management all over.
And the Met Police saying, oh, well, in terms of these 2 convicted sex offenders who are police officers, think about that for a second, folks. Convicted sex offenders are police constables. He said, well, they weren't actually physical sex offenders. Oh, well, that's all right then. Well, if you've broken the law, Mike, you shouldn't be a copper, should you?
Yes, well, I would say, let's say something to the most petty offence, speeding or something like that. We can offer everybody...
Oh, well, yeah.
When it comes to like sex, how can you have people convicted of sexual offences? How can you have officers convicted of dishonesty? It's just outrageous, and it just needs to be sorted out. Why would you even consider keeping those people? If they're dismissing people for drink drive, MPs don't get sacked for drink drive, judges don't get sacked for drink drive, officers do get sacked for drink drive. If you're sacking officers for drink driving, how come you're not sacking them for being sex offenders? It's incredible.
Yeah, and if you're watching Smart Rowley, get rid of the sex offenders as a first move, and then get rid of the 300 others. There cannot be any trust in the police if police forces, you know, this is over 300 Met police officers are convicted criminals. Come on, that is absurd. Mike, sorry, last point, go for it.
The last point is, Sir Robert Mark, a great commissioner, he said that a good police force is one that catches more crooks than it employs, and it would seem Sir Mark Rowley's forgotten that.
It certainly does. Mike, great to talk to you. Thank you so much. Mike Neville there, former Met police detective. Sorry about the technical issues, but we had to get him on the phone in the end, but I think we got the point across. When we come back, let's talk about the crazy cost of Crazy Ed Miliband's net zero madness. It is over £4 trillion, £4.5 trillion quid over the next 25 years. That will bankrupt us. It's mad. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned. Esteemed state broadcaster, the BBC, that we all have to pay £180, $220 or so a year by law to fund, was foisting upon us a practising paedophile.
A couple of days before, I was at the Trick Awards because James Well, the guy I used to work with, got a Lifetime Achievement Award, and he was sitting on a table with all BBC executives, and he went up to get a prize, and they all knew this was coming, and they didn't care.
The BBC always tries to cover everything up. That's what they try to keep this a secret, and shame on them.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, let's talk about net zero, shall we? The crazy cost of Crazy Ed Miliband's net zero madness is going to be, over the next 25 years, apparently £4.5 trillion. That's for loads more new windmills, It is for more solar panel farms and so on and so forth. Frankly, these figures published by the government quango, the National Energy System Operator, will bankrupt Britain. They'll also bankrupt a lot of Brits, a lot of British citizens, because in this huge amount of money, we, the long-suffering residents of Ed Miliband's totalitarian net zero regime, will have to contribute £585 billion to be shelled out by ordinary households to shift from gas boilers to eco-friendly heat pumps that don't work, so on and so forth. This is just madness on an extremely frightening scale. Let's talk to social and political commentator and net zero expert James Melville. Welcome, James. How are you doing?
Hi, Kevin. You well?
Very well. Happy New Year to you. Haven't spoken since the turn of 2026. But these costs that have been revealed by the National Energy System Operator, which is a government organisation, are eye-watering. £4.5 trillion over 25 years. Oh, you go, 25 years, that's a long time, but 4.5 trillion, that will bankrupt the country.
Yeah, it's ludicrous. And it's not going to achieve anything. I mean, nothing's going to be achieved. And some of the other countries are walking away from net zero for a number of reasons, because they've come to that conclusion, and also in terms of the cost. We've also got an ongoing cost of living crisis, which is not just about the price of certain things, it's also about the taxes and the highest tax burden in decades. So we've got a government who are punishing various industries. People are losing their jobs because they're moving to this new source of energy. It's destroying the countryside in terms of solar panels, destroying many of our views in terms of wind turbines. The cost to actually make these things is gargantuan. It's also filled with materials that are actually diametric opposite in terms of environmentally friendly. But ultimately, we have the zealotry of Ed Miliband with out-of-control figures that we're talking about here. And really what should be happening, if they want to solve, as Keir Starmer said the other day, the main priority of the cost of living crisis, and remember the phrase, fixing the foundations of the economy.
How can I forget? Starmer said it every 3 seconds, fixing the foundations.
I mean, this is the Walter Mitty of politics, and Ed Miliband's not far behind him. He's like sort of the Alan Partridge of politics. You put those two together, and they're bankrupting the country. And for what? If you look at emissions, China are emitting more in terms of CO2 than the rest of the developed world put together. All that Starmer and Miliband are doing is going to places like COP to get a round of applause that are global leaders. So what? They're bankrupting the country. What should be happening now is they should be axing net zero. Enough is enough.
Yeah, and in order to meet the target, the net zero target we've set for 2050, NESO, the National Energy System Operator, says that Britain will have to spend each year going forward £182 billion. These are fantasy figures. We can't afford this. Why does Starmer, or why does this government gather around this fantastical nonsense that cannot possibly happen?
Yeah, and also it's not going to make any difference. That's the thing. Because, I mean, all they're doing, for instance, if you take, for instance, the lunacy of decommissioning oil and gas in North Sea in terms of new licenses, and yet we are importing north of £20 billion worth of oil and gas from the same sea from Norway. We've also got this sort of the Draxcon that's going out. They're pumping in loads of taxpayers' money on that. There's the solar panels issues, which is robbing us of thousands of acres of prime farmland. You know, even up here in Scotland, you know, I live near St Andrews. It was brilliant coastline, and there's proposals to plaster the coastline with these monstrosity wind turbines that are basically about 3 times the size of Big Ben. So this is utter lunacy on so many different levels. The public aren't buying it. It's getting rammed through this by this government, who should know better. And they put out these figures. Do you remember the £22 billion black hole?
Oh, yeah.
Which was proven to be disingenuous anyway.
Yeah.
Well, they're creating a black hole worth hundreds of millions because of net zero. If they want to balance the books, the best way they could do to balancing the books is axe net zero, but they won't do it because they're too stubborn, and they're wrapped around this ideological zealotry that fundamentally we'll pay the price for a very, very long time.
As you say, James, just to sort of round this conversation off, you know, nothing this country, Britain, can do, will do, does do, will make a blind bit of difference. We are responsible for less than 1% of the world's carbon emissions, 1% of the world's pollution. You know, meanwhile, China's churning out 28%. You know, Russia's something like 15%. You know, Brazil, America, even Australia, churning it out. Now, these are the countries that if they had a big net zero program, it might make a bit of difference. But if we in this country, given our very, very minor contribution to world pollution, went back to living in mud huts and riding around on horses, it wouldn't make any difference. We are being punished just because of Ed Miliband's zealotry and his ideology. And what has it led to? Us having, in Britain, this is not up for debate, this is a fact, the highest energy prices in the entire bloody world, and 5 times higher than America. So this is a madness that is costing us, the long-suffering British citizens, a damn fortune.
Yeah, it's not completely the wrong way around. You know, it's crass logic. What we should be doing, any sensible government, is a sense of logic and pragmatism to actually make things work in this country. You know, lower tax bills, you know, give the small and medium enterprises a chance to survive. But also part of that is an effective joined-up energy policy, of which we are surrounded by natural resources. And because of that, we have the opportunity to develop a lot of manufacturing and industry right across the country on those natural resources. And instead, we have Starmer and Miliband going down this claptrap that will not provide enough for our energy security. It will destroy acres of farmland, thousands of acres. It means we're becoming an importing economy for our energy because they want to lower, you know, in terms of net zero, get closer to their targets. And meanwhile, we're all paying the price with higher taxes and higher bills and higher levies. The only people benefiting from this are the corporations who are picking up the contracts for this nonsense on the taxpayers' expense. It's utter nonsense. And if there was ever any policy that summed up the crass logic and idiocy of this Labour government, it is net zero.
Absolutely. And it is pure virtue signaling. As I say, nothing we do in this country will ever make any difference. And it's based on this ludicrous principle that, you know, if we, go into hair shirt mode and don't drive cars and don't go on holiday, don't climb into jets, that Xi Jinping over in Beijing will lie awake at night going, oh my God, I've got to, Britain's doing so much and I've got to get on board. I've got to match their commitment to net zero. What a load of rubbish. We are being ruined on the altar of this madman Ed Miliband's zealotry and his ideology, and it has to stop. It really does. James, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. James Melville, social and political commentator. What do you think about that? 4.5 trillion quid. Trust me, that will bankrupt the country. For what? It won't achieve anything. The only, he's talking about, James talking about businessmen doing very well out of this, big companies and all that, cashing in on the net zero thing. But also China does very well out of this, selling us windmills and solar panels that they manufacture using fossil fuels, because China has got 1,100, that is 1,100 coal-fueled power stations, and they're building 300 more. So they're not doing anything. They're just selling us alleged green products made with fossil fuels. It is insanity, folks. It is deranged, delusional. 03444991000. When we come back, the big question. Is the BBC smash hit Traitors racist? Is Traitors racist? Tell you thinks Traitors is racist, you won't be all that surprised to hear. It's the Guardian newspaper. We'll talk to The Sun's brilliant TV critic Ali Ross about this when we come back.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's talk about The Traitors. Claudia Winkleman presents it, and it's become something of a national obsession, hasn't it? Sort of parlour game on telly. Now, The Guardian says that there's a problem with The Traitors, and that is that The Traitors is racist. And the reason for this is that, according to one of The Guardian's writers, the black contestants keep getting voted off first. So there you have it. And she says that's reality TV for you, reflecting the reality of racist Britain. So I wonder, is The Traitors racist? Let's ask the excellent TV critic for The Sun, Ali Ross. Ali, is The Traitors racist in your eminent view?
No, it's not, Kev.
OK, thanks, Ali. It's good to talk. No,
well, that clears things up.
That's cleared that up. What do you make of this contention that because I think in this series the first two contestants to go were contestants of colour, that somehow this is a reflection of Britain's innate racism?
Well, it's classic Guardian, isn't it? Guardian used to be a serious newspaper with some of the best journalists in Britain, like James Cameron and Simon Hoggart, and it's now just filled with race baiters and student essayists like this woman, who's you can throw the tag of racism at anything. Before I came on, I just Googled, are trousers racist? And I got yes. There was an incident with Sainsbury's where trousers were indeed accused of being racist. It's meaningless. It's utterly meaningless. So the whole point of the game on traitors is that you have your suspicions about people. If you say, well, I can't have suspicions about any of the black people because I'll look racist, then the whole game collapses.
I think, Ali, this is written by Athena Kugblenu, and I'm not necessarily accusing her of this, but it seems to me that anyone who concludes that The Traitors is racist has a kind of problem with racism themselves. They obviously see it everywhere.
Oh yeah, you could see it at the bottom of your teacup if you work for The Guardian. It came to a head, I think, in September last year when Leicester University decided the countryside was racist. Just all of it. Every hedge, every back road, every field was in fact racist. It's become a point of insanity. Yeah. And the fact that she cites two other programs in this article, which is Love Island, where the current winner is black, and the previous winners were both black, and Strictly, which has been won by 3 black people. It's a nonsense. It's not even the first element of journalism about this article. She just knows it's clickbait, and people will end up discussing it as we are doing now. But it's just the emptiest triumph of all time, isn't it?
It's just ludicrous. Now, the thing about The Traitors is I can't pretend to be an avid watcher of this series. As I've told you many times, you and I used to be your Oppo on the Sunday Mirror when I was the TV critic for about a decade there, and like yourself, I had to endure 35 hours of telly every single week, watch every single damn programme, The X Factor, Britain's Got Talent, so on and so forth, all of the soaps. And my greatest luxury now, I know you're jealous of me, is I don't have to watch them anymore, and therefore I must...
What's it like out there, kid?
You've got to free yourself. It's a wonderful world. Get yourself out of your living room and into the real world. But seriously, so I haven't really watched The Traitors very much, but as I understand it, and this is relevant to our discussion, the people who vote are not the public, it's the contestants, right?
It's the contestants, including black contestants who vote for other black contestants as the traitor.
Yeah,
there are still black contestants who remain in it, including Roxy, who hasn't been voted out. It's not under suspicion by anyone. It's just if you act suspiciously, as the 2 people I mentioned did, then you will get banished. It's just the rules of the game.
You see, I remember when I was writing my column, like yourself, I remember noticing on quite a few reality TV shows where the public voted that you could put together an argument. There's something sort of slightly disconcerting about the fact that contestants of colour tend to go earlier than the white contestants. There was that syndrome for a while. I think as the years, reality TV's been with us now for 25 years, kind of started at the turn of the century. I think that syndrome of which I speak has declined over the last 5 years or so. So in the past, you could have said, well, the public seemed to be showing, shall we say, a slightly racist tendencies towards the black contestants. But that you can't blame the TV show for that, and you can't blame the contestants. On the traitors, this is just the contestants. So old Athena is essentially accusing the other contestants of being racists.
Although right at the top of her article, she admits we can have no way of knowing the intention on it. Right, but I'm going to crack on with this article anyway. Just go through the motions, and 1,000 words later, you know, my mind was made up at the beginning anyway.
Yeah.
It's just it gives journalism such a bad name.
Yeah, absolutely.
People see it for what it is.
Let's talk about the traders generally speaking, because I read your column religiously, of course, every Friday.
Thank you.
Every Friday in the Sun, by the way, everybody. Ali's TV column, best column of the week, funniest thing you'll read all week in the national press. So I read your column on a Friday, and I've read your take on traitors, and whilst you really enjoyed the celebrity version, mainly because they got some really top flight celebrities, which is unusual in reality TV, you have your reservations about the civilian version. You don't think it's all it's cracked up to be.
The thing with the celebrities, as you pointed out, it was a brilliant lineup, and they actually had something to lose there. For instance, we saw that Stephen Fry, who's built his whole career on being considered a genius, wasn't actually as clever as Joe Marler. was out of his depth.
Hey, mate, you're talking about my neighbour. Stephen Fry lives a couple of doors down from me. Don't you diss him.
I know exactly what sort of neighbourhood you inhabit, Kevin O'Sullivan.
I'm going to go around and tell him that, because I didn't really watch Celebrity Traitors. I'm going to say, I hear you came across...
It was good, and it was great to see people like Paloma Faith, who was voted out first, and was incandescent with rage to go, because she knew she'd signed up because she knew it was going to be a hit, and it would give her unlimited airtime if she lasted the course.
Yeah.
And there she was, gone on the first episode. So these were people that had something to lose. Now you look at the civilian version, and it's. You don't have that immediacy. It's hard to give a damn about someone you don't know. And the thing is, as well, is once they appear on this, and you can tell there are a few of them driven by fame, it's going to be very hard to get rid of them. Last year's lot from the civilian traitors are still lurking around, Would I Lie to You?
Yeah.
One of them was on the SAS show for the last series. They don't go away. They just create another layer of Z-list problems.
I'll tell you what I think about reality TV shows is, for example, now here is a syndrome worth discussing. So, for example, the last series of Strictly, the first guy to go was Thomas Skinner, who, in my view, probably got very poor votes because he's a friend of J.D. Vance and has right-wing, classic hardline working class opinions. Good for him, I say. That's why I think he got That's why I think he got voted out. I mean, being right wing. Now, it isn't being a person of colour that it makes you a criminal in the world of reality TV, but being right wing, you're not going to last, right?
No, and I think he'll struggle to get TV work from now on. I really feel for the guy, because as he said himself, he's not particularly political. He got an invite from the Vice President of America, and who, including Guardian journalists, would, in all honesty, turn that down?
Exactly.
It would be fascinating. So he went along and was absolutely vilified for it. And he's made mistakes along the way as well, I would contend, but he didn't deserve the treatment he got.
Yeah, no, I agree, and he seemed to me to be a very likeable, simple, straightforward guy, with the kind of opinions that BBC people don't like, if you know what I mean.
Oh no, they'd be absolutely horrified to discover a working-class, white, patriotic man in their midst.
Who let him in?
Yeah,
exactly.
He must be gone. Be gone, Thomas.
Where do you think TV's heading, Ali? The reason I'm asking is I'm watching this carnage over at ITV, particularly in terms of daytime TV, when ITV have shed 300 staff who worked on daytime telly. You know, shows like Lorraine has been cut right back. You've had Loose Women has been cut back. All the shows have been cut back drastically. I mean, is that going to work? I mean, my point is, what you've got here, it seems to me, the terrestrial format is failing. Changing because people are going towards streaming, they're going towards YouTube, and the terrestrial television industry's only answer, I'm not talking about ITV only, obviously talking about the BBC, Channel 4, Channel 5, their only answer seems to be, let's carry on doing the same thing, only with fewer staff. Let's carry on doing the same thing, only cheaper. That isn't a passport to the future, is it?
It's not. If you just had to look at the Christmas schedules. This is supposedly a showcase for the best of television throughout the year. And there wasn't one thing there I would have chosen to watch. And that's why I take, apart from other reasons, that's part of the reason why I take Christmas off. It's just not worth knocking your pan in on the 25th of December to watch this garbage, cheap, derivative, unadventurous garbage.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to end up going back to the test card during the day at this rate because there is so little money about in the industry.
Yeah, and they put back your picture byline. Remember that used to have you in the middle of the test card, didn't they? So they could go back to that on the Sun. But going back to that Christmas Day schedule, when you look at that. For me, I stopped writing a column in 2016, so that's 9 years ago. And I looked at this year's Christmas schedule and said, that's the same as when I was still writing a column. So in 10 years, they're still doing the same program. EastEnders, Strictly Christmas Special, EastEnders, of course, Call the Midwife, so on and so forth. It seems to be an industry that is steeped in a sort of staggering lack of imagination.
Yeah, and it's straitjacketed by its own political prejudices as well. It's all but killed off comedy. The drama is all pretty derivative as well. So what you're going to get is cheap television and more reality TV, stuff like that. It's going down a very dark tunnel at the moment, mainstream television.
As you said, we no longer have, in your column, we no longer have whodunits, we have he-done-its. It's always the guys, it's always the white guy, the white rich guy, he's always the villain, right?
It takes the fun. As soon as he appears, it's like, hello, all right, it's you.
There's no point in watching the rest of this. What was that series set in Deal, I think it was, the one about the guy who turned out to be the rapist? What was it called?
Oh yeah, Liar or
The Liar or something. Yeah. And that was one of those series, wasn't it? There's no point in watching this. We know who did it.
Who could it be? Has she made it up?
Who could possibly be the bad guy in this? So, is there anything good coming up that someone like me might want to watch, Ali?
No, but the bonus is forest fires have put off the start of Love Island.
Have they?
Yeah.
What is Love Island? What in Mallorca?
No, it's down in South Africa.
Okay. Yeah.
And the prevailing southeasterlies have found a bushfire, which is threatening the villa, which just strikes me as God's way of saying, nah, one series a year is enough.
You see, this is it, isn't it? You know, people automatically assume that forest fires are a bad thing.
Exactly.
But here we can see that is not always the case. Here's to the forest fires. Keep on raging, eh?
Hear, hear.
Ali, great to catch up with you again. Let's get you on again soon. The brilliant Ali Ross, best TV critic in the country. Read his column every Friday in The Sun. Maybe you want to let me know if you're a fan of The Traitors. Do you think The Traitors is racist? 0344 499 1000. When we come back, we're going to take some of your calls. And then after the 9 o'clock news, we're going live to Los Angeles to talk to the great Kinsey Schofield, our royal guru, about the latest goings-on Planet Harry and Meghan. And there's a lot to discuss. So all of that still to come. Stick around.
To wake up. Islamists are laughing at us. They are using our rights and our freedoms to basically expose to their other Islamists how weak and decadent the West is. We need to stand up for that. And we need to also look into activist judges. You know, there are judges who celebrated the Rwanda defeat of the Tory government and others. Judges' independence must be sacrosanct, but there must be an independent panel when you have clear cases of bias or activism or loony things like this, that they get investigated, sanctioned and maybe even dismissed.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're going to go to the phones in just a second. As I say, after the 9 o'clock news, we'll go over to the west coast of America to talk to Kinsey Schofield, our royal expert, about what's going on with Harry and Meghan. He wants to come to Britain, wants to bring Meghan with him. Seem to think the King's going to open the Invictus Games. Good luck with that. Here's a little quick message from Nigel. Nigel says, great show. This cost of living crisis is Labour-made. The overinflated prices are increasing the amount of tax we pay, allowing the government to carry out its plans while skinting its population and shutting us up by closing places where we meet and making these places unaffordable. I think Nigel's talking about pubs, social clubs, that kind of thing. You know, this war on pubs that the Labour government seems to have is curious. I think that in the end, these people, the cabinet people, the people in the Labour Party, not all of them, but a fair few of them, they're puritanical killjoys. They don't like the idea of people like me and, you know, going to pubs and saying right-wing things, expressing our dislike of this socialist government. They don't like the idea of that, so their idea is, let's close all the pubs down. I just don't think they like people enjoying themselves. They're killjoys, they're Puritans, they're boring. You know, pubs are important to British life, and these people want to call time, last orders on this great British tradition, the pub. Why are they doing it? 03444991000. Let's go over to Gary in Devon. Gary, you're worried about Twitter, or X as they now call it. I've got a message here saying that you think they can't ban it. Well, I'm afraid they can.
In what way can they ban it? I mean,
by just banning it, closing it down.
Well, they can't close it down because you can go on a VPN and watch it through it, listen to it through an. Or
yeah, but you won't be able to post it. You won't be able to post anything.
Are you sure?
Yes.
What? You just stop the phone service, or we're talking about what about if you do it on your PC? You can
No. They will shut the whole site down. It will not exist in Britain. They can do it. They've done it in lots of countries. They did it in Brazil recently. They can do it. There's several countries where it is banned, you know, China, etc. So you can do it.
China and North Korea.
But what I'm saying is, it is I'm not saying necessarily they'll do it, but they can do it, the government, if they want to.
Yeah, they didn't worry about, it's all about this AI and people with, putting people in bikinis. They're not real bodies. It's like putting somebody's face on and putting a clown body on them.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Gary. The way I see it, I think you will agree with me. We don't approve of that. That is a real imposition on women. It is a kind of invasion of their dignity, if you like, by taking their face and putting a bikini body on it. But don't get me wrong. I deplore that. That's terrible. But it's not like the worst crime I've ever come across. And when you think of all the pornographic horror that goes on social media sites.
If you put any image on the internet, you're allowing it free to anybody to use it.
Yeah, I agree. But
anybody can. You're giving away your rights as soon as you put it on the internet.
But I mean, what? Why not just take the Grok function out of X or Twitter as
I've never actually used the Grok
Nor
function.
have I.
I was unaware of it till Alex Phillips mentioned it for information purposes.
Yeah, well, you always go to Alex first for the information.
Well, anyway, I don't think they should ban it, and they should concentrate on the rape gangs because that seems to have taken a back.
Yeah, you see.
Along with the you remember the Rent Boy scandal?
That's such a good point, Gary, about the rape gang inquiry. While that very important inquiry seems to be kicked into the long grass and down the road time and time again, this government's banging on about bikinis on X, and I think perhaps they're not getting their priorities right. That's a good point, Gary. I appreciate the call. Thank you very much for ringing. Gary in Devon. What do you think about this? Do you think the government will do it? I mean, I think Gary's, he thinks they can't do it. Well, they can. They seriously can literally shut the whole thing down if they want. Should they do it? What would you think if they did do it? What do you think of them that they're even contemplating this? It's an assault on free speech, isn't it? Anyway, that later. Stay tuned. Kinsey next.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to the west coast of America to talk to Kinsey Schofield. She is the host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. Welcome, Kinsey.
Hi, Kev. Pretty busy weekend for the Sussex team. There's the Sussex PR team as they continue
the
to
PR team, yeah.
some highly manipulative storylines to try to pressure the royal family into giving them the security that they want.
Yeah, let's talk about the build-up to, I mean, ever since not this weekend just gone, but the weekend before, we've been assailed by a fusillade of stories about how the British government mysteriously, after, was it 2-3 years of fighting Harry every step of the way in the courts to tell him you cannot have armed police protection when you come over here because you're not a frontline royal and British taxpayers shouldn't have to foot the bill for your protection. You know, when you come back from America. So that was their quite reasonable position. They fought him in the courts. They spent a lot of taxpayers' money, which he had to give them back, fair enough. They fought him and they fought him and they fought him every step of the way. And then suddenly, last weekend, you get this story saying, oh, the government's about to change its mind. It's about to change its mind and they're going to cave in because Harry's got a stalker and therefore they're going to give him armed protection. Well, you know, call me cynical, but that smacked of the Sussex spin machine firing on all cylinders as usual. We've had more of it over the last few days. But I picked up my... no, we've had stories that, yes, he's about to get his gun guards. That means he'll bring Meghan over fairly soon for the Invictus Games. He's going to get his dad, the king, to open the Invictus Games. And therefore, you know, the rift is healed. Everything is great. And he's got everything that he wanted. He's going to bring his...
We can all forgive the Sussexes now. Yeah. Everything's fine.
Well, exactly. Now, I picked up my copy of The Times, though, here in London on Saturday. And what did I read? That, in fact, it is being said in high places that you shouldn't read too much into this idea that Harry is suddenly going to get the gun guards, the armed police protection that he demands. The Times said, actually, this is unlikely to happen. Now, if that doesn't happen, this whole thing about, I'm going to bring my family back, I'll bring the kids, I'll bring Meghan. Well, according to his narrative, in which he always said, I can't bring my family to Britain because it's not safe, that lack of safety will continue. Because he isn't going to get the armed guards that he demands.
Which is dishonest. You know this as well as I do, Kevin. 9 times out of 10, Harry gets armed security. He gets, you know, he wants automatic armed security. He wants what his brother has. A lot of this is about ego and jealousy. Just look at the title Spare. Yeah, Harry typically gets that type of security. And I can almost guarantee you if Harry were to give them the 30 days notice required, Ravik, the 30 days notice required with an itinerary, and he said, guess what? My wife and children will be with me as well, that Ravik would prioritize giving him armed security. But, you know, what he did very manipulatively, in my opinion, is in the first string of stories that came out. Again, it's my suggestion that these stories are all meant to manipulate Ravik's decision and manipulate public opinion about Harry and this security situation. But the narrative through the first rollout, which was Harry was going to get his security back, was the only thing that would jeopardize that is the royal family intervening, making these people the villains again, making the royal family the bad guys again. And so what we can expect if he is denied automatic security, and we will find this out within the next few days or weeks, is that Harry's team will point the blame at King Charles and Prince William and say, they've interrupted something. They've come in and they've disturbed Harry's campaign, when in reality, it's like you said, you lost this a long time ago. The only thing that's weird to us is the fact that after a private meeting with Yvette Cooper and your personal outreach to Yvette Cooper and Keir Starmer, they've decided to revisit this situation at all.
Yeah, and what happened was that Harry suddenly came up with this stalker person who he said has been putting his personal safety at risk, who I gather some people say is just a harmless royal watcher of some woman or other. And it was this stalker that allegedly persuaded the government to revisit the review of his protection when he comes to Britain. I don't really believe this. I don't believe that the government would spend 2.5 years and millions of pounds of taxpayers' money defending their case. By the way, that money Harry had to pay back to the government, to be fair, because he lost the case. I don't believe they would fight this battle all the way in the high courts, in the court of public opinion, for 2 long years, suddenly to go, oh, well, we're going to change our mind. This story, I think, is emerging from the Sussex spin machine.
I agree with you, and I think the entire objective is to corner the royal family and force their hand into giving Harry the automatic protection that he wants. And I know he's paranoid. I know that's something he inherited from his mother, but I also think that there is a more sinister pursuit here, and that is to create a competing court in the UK to distract from the good work that the royal family is doing and give Harry legitimacy in the space back as a royal so that he can come back to the United States and monetize that.
Now, among this sort of, amid this narrative, I think being promoted from Montecito is the fact that in a few months, Meghan may make her first visit to Britain for 4 years. This would be to go to Birmingham, our second city here, for a kind of pre-event leading up to the Invictus Games in Britain in 2027. So it will be the 1 year before the games start. So the word is Harry's going to bring Meghan and maybe the kids, because he's getting armed police protection.
Well, he should bring Meghan, because Meghan always shows up to this 1 year before. She was there in Canada the last time that he did the tease. Again, the narrative here is manipulation. This is extortion. What he's saying is, you give us the security we want, and if you don't, Meghan doesn't show up, and then that's on you. And again, you are the villain. But I've seen the woman show up in Colombia. I've seen the woman show up in Nigeria. I mean, I don't think it's far-fetched to say that these are 2 places that are far more dangerous than Birmingham. I have a very hard time believing that the one thing on Meghan Markle's list of demands is that she gets automatic security when she lands. If Harry brings, we said it earlier, 2 years ago, if Harry were to bring Meghan and the children to the United Kingdom, and it was a big internationally recognized cause like Invictus, Ravik is going to say that's a no-brainer. We're going to give you the armed security that you request. The fact that the way that they're painting this as, but if you don't, Meghan's not coming, who cares? Well, hey, I can list people that don't want her there, including people that work at Invictus, then want her there, okay?
Yeah. Listen, Kinsey, the most powerful argument so far against giving Harry the armed police protection he demands when he comes back to Britain is if we do give it to him, he'll bring bloody Meghan over him with him. Yeah. So let's not give it to him, and then she'll stay in California and everybody will be happy. She doesn't like Britain. The Brits don't like her. Why do we want her here anyway?
Yeah, it's just like this threat is not very threatening, okay? Honestly, it's the happy opposite day. Yeah. Maybe we will do everything we can to work against this. But I mean, just look at the string of stories. You can sit there and imagine, because it's my understanding that right now they have one PR person that's still on the payroll. So if you look at the string of stories we've processed over the last 2 weeks together, you can see visualize Harry and Meghan on the couch, sitting across from a laptop on Zoom. Meghan's got the very fuzzy filter on that she wore during the Oprah Winfrey chat last week, where we could barely recognize her face. And they're saying, strategy number one, we say we've already got it in hopes that we convince Ravik to just give it to us based on the fact that people already think we have it. Strategy number two, olive branch. Prince Harry, he misses his daddy. He's going to invite his... Give me a break with the olive branch storyline. Who's going to shine the most PR-wise if King Charles stands there next to Harry? Harry's been the one that has misbehaved so poorly over the last 5 years, not King Charles. King Charles has cancer. Harry's the only one that wins PR-wise if King Charles shows up for Invictus. So the olive branch story, Harry's going to extend an olive branch to King Charles so that they can and how bizarre to not talk to each other for 5 years and then show up in front of 500 cameras at the Invictus Games. I'm not buying it. And then Meghan will only come if she gets the security that she needs. This seems like a very calculated strategy PR-wise, and they are trying to bully the royal family into giving this guy his armed security. And for what? Can you name 3 initiatives in the last 5 years that Harry and Meghan have executed when it comes to philanthropy that have been meaningful and valuable? I can't, but I can rattle off every television show, documentary, or book that they released where they chastised Meghan's in-laws.
Yeah, exactly right. Amid this, this is all insiders said, and as we have speculated, these insiders, such as they are definitely in Montecito. So amid this story, this emerging story, this picture that is being painted, is that the King will open the Invictus Games in 2027. Frankly, Harry, good luck with that. And more to the point, that the King, in order to assuage Harry's security fears, has said, why don't you come and stay with me when you come to Britain? In other words, it seems to me that the Sussex spin machine, if indeed it is responsible for these stories, and I think it is spinning out of control. It is taking one and making 101. It is ridiculous. The King, look, if the King opens the Invictus Games and says to Harry and Meghan and the kids, you stay with me, I know someone who isn't going to be very pleased, who the King will listen to. His name is Prince William. Prince William will not allow all of this, will he?
The delusion goes beyond what you just described, because it's my understanding that Invictus leadership really wants Catherine, the Princess of Wales, Prince William there, Queen Camilla, and King Charles standing shoulder to shoulder with Harry. That's how far this delusion goes. I think getting the King is the backup plan, quite honestly. That would be a great get for them. But the ultimate goal for them would be to have Catherine, William, Camilla, and the King there supporting the cause, which you and I agree. We love Invictus Games. It's the poster child and his wife that we have questions with, because Meghan makes it the Meghan Markle show. The second she shows up, it's all about what she was literally briefing media about her outfits in the last few years at Invictus, sending messages to everyone every day, giving them a breakdown of what she was wearing. I don't care what you're wearing. I'm much more interested in this guy who lost a limb and continues to fight every day to survive and to make sure that his family has a good life. Like, I don't care about your, Tommy Bahama shorts. I'm sorry. But I think that what they're trying to do is, if I were the royal family, I would offer Harry a video from King Charles, and I would send Edward and Sophie. And that way it doesn't look like Harry's been completely abandoned. But if the King is to stand there with Prince Harry or any other member of the royal family in the senior level, it would legitimize him in a way that I don't think he deserves.
Yeah, and I don't think, William, the king is a soft-hearted old soul, and it is, Harry, for all his faults, and there's a lot of faults to think about there, is the king's son. And, he doesn't want this terrible rift to continue. However, the king has other things to think about. And one of the things he has to think about is the heir to the throne, and that's Prince William. Now, in terms of Meghan, and indeed Harry, if William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, never saw the gruesome twosome from California ever again, it would be too soon for them. William is not going to sanction the king opening the Invictus Games, nor will he take kindly to the king offering to put Harry, Meghan and the kids up when they come to Britain.
But I don't believe that. Do you? I don't believe that.
No, I don't believe that story, but it's part of the spin, isn't it? It's part of the spun story.
And one of the reasons I don't believe that story is because you and I covered years ago Harry going, I think it was the 10th anniversary of Invictus, and Harry went to London for that, and the king offered him Buckingham Palace. And Harry turned it down because he thought people would be spying on him there. And the story that Harry's team leaked at the time, remember this, was that the king refused to engage with him. And then the palace actually came out and said that's not true. Had Harry stayed where we suggested he stay, he was more likely to run into his father. We were more likely to find free time for them to get together, but Harry didn't want to stay in the palace. So Harry has blown that opportunity in the past. I highly doubt the king is eager to offer him something similar, seeing as how ungrateful he's previously been, ungrateful to the point of briefing the media on things that quite frankly just were not true at the time. So I don't see the king doing that. I think that they're all just kind of over it, and they realize that when it comes to Harry and this Invictus storyline, they are being used as puppets, when it comes to Harry's PR objectives.
Yeah, you're entirely right that when reality, when this saga, this narrative, collides with reality, the reality will be the king, I think, is very unlikely to open the Invictus Games, not because he doesn't approve of the games, but because of the diplomatic difficulties involved in terms of William. He's not going to side with Harry over William. Furthermore, he's not going to put Harry, Meghan and the kids up for the same damn reasons. So I don't think this is going to happen, and I think that this is the Sussex spin machine setting things up to say, oh, well, you spoiled everything because you didn't give me armed police protection. There I was, the king was going to open the games, I was going to stay with the kings, bring Meghan over for the first time in 5 years. It was going to be great. And then you went and spoiled it all. That's what he's trying to do, isn't it?
It is, yeah. This is slightly unrelated, but it reminds me of what they're trying to do here in the States. There was a big, and I apologize if I've told you the story before, but they do this all the time. There was a big debate as to who was going to replace the Tonight Show host. It was either going to be David Letterman or Jay Leno. And I mean, it's all the media wanted to talk about. Is it David Letterman or Jay Leno? And so Jay Leno's publicist shamelessly, ruthlessly went to Page Six and whispered in their ear, Leno got it. So Page Six is like, we have the scoop. Jay Leno's been offered the job. Jay Leno wasn't offered the job. Nobody had been offered the job, but everybody started reporting it as gospel. And then NBC was like, well, everybody thinks he has it, so we might as well give it to him. Leno goes over to CBS and makes history there. But that's how Jay Leno secured his job as the host of The Tonight Show. And I see that here, like, we'll say it until it's true. I mean, I've always say with Meghan Markle, fake it till you make it. That's been her motto. Yeah. But with this story about security, that was my instinct immediately. We'll just say it until it's true. But the reality reality is Harry does not live in the UK. He doesn't have a strong presence in the UK. He returns to the UK more times than not to sue somebody there. If he was there constantly doing charity events or supporting his family, I could understand. But he's typically steps foot over in the UK because he's taking somebody to court. He's not a working member of the British royal family. And so I just have real doubts about Ravik looking at the circumstances and saying, this is something you are owed, and the UK taxpayer is going to pay for it.
Exactly right. And what you're talking about here is the sort of manipulative ways of publicists, of the publicity business, which brings us to William, who possibly in anticipation of Harry's royal rehabilitation, should it ever happen, and also because of his awful Uncle Andrew, has apparently hired this ace crisis manager publicist, somebody called Lisa Razencroft, to deal with these increasing royal stories that seem to engulf the royal family all the time, often involving the two pariahs of the royal family, Harry and, of course, Andrew. So this woman publicist, Lisa Razencroft, is described as, and I quote, bulletproof sunshine. Do you have the faintest idea what the hell that even means?
I think it means she takes a licking and she keeps on ticking. Like, I think it means she's fearless.
What was that again? She takes a licking and she keeps on kicking.
She keeps on
I
ticking.
love these American phrases. Go on.
I think it means that she's fearless and that well, it sounds like she's got a can-do attitude, which is one of the reasons why Miss Markle failed so miserably when she was a member of the British royal family. She was a quitter, and this person seems consistent, persistent, and kind of scary. My concern is, do Prince William and Catherine anticipate more, which could very well be the case. There is the slow leak of the Epstein files here happening.
Yeah, that gets worse every day for Andrew, doesn't it? Yeah.
It truly does. But I also think that you are correct in the idea that they just want to be prepared if Harry is coming over trying to create this rival court. He is, relentless in disrupting their very meaningful causes that they spend months and years planning. Like William lands in Rio for a whole award ceremony where millions of dollars are being exchanged, and then Harry just pops up in Canada with a camera in his face. So I do think that they want to be prepared if Harry and Meghan continue to poke at them. But, it's a pretty intense hire. So obviously a lot of, I think it's an intelligent hire, but it makes you wonder what's happening behind the scenes that makes it a priority.
I think it's in anticipation of trouble to come. I think that, William and Catherine, and indeed the rest of the royal family, the king, have seen what the Montecito spin machine has been putting out for the past couple of weeks. And they realise, or William has come to realise, listen, there's only one way to deal with Harry, and that is to fight fire with fire. Lisa Razencroft isn't just any old publicist. Her speciality is crisis management. So Harry, or rather William, I think, foresees a series of crises unfolding as the future months come to us. And therefore he wants to be ready to deal with these kind of stories that Harry and Meghan relentlessly put out. I mean, that's all they ever do. They put out stories about how brilliant they are, about how the king's ready to forgive.
1 million jams of
Yeah. How are things with ours ever? Is it still sort of, are products still, as an insider said, flying off the shelf?
Well, let me just say, this is a PSA, public service announcement. I received, as a joke, 3 bottles of As Ever wine or rosé, and while I laughed out loud, you are still putting money in this woman's pocket when you harass me. And I am just kidding. I wasn't harassed. I appreciated the gift. But, you know...
What's it like? What's that rosé like?
I don't drink. I mean, actually, it was very funny because the note said, spray this in corners to keep away ants and cockroaches. It was actually the letter that came with the booze. But I don't drink, so I won't be able to tell you. If I am going to drink, it's not going to be that stuff.
Yeah.
But the packaging was very basic. Like, she uses tissue paper and stickers. I would expect more. Also, the Enjoy Meghan, I thought it was interesting because I thought she was hand signing these letters that said Enjoy Meghan that I saw all these influencers getting, but I can tell it's just printed. And I think it's like so lazy. Like, if you're not even 1 year old yet, the least you can do, Jenny McCarthy does this, the least you can do is actually sit down and sign something that says, thanks, enjoy, Meghan. But it's, it's just, a postcard that's been printed. But I'd seen them circulating online and I'd wondered if they were real or just printed. And now I know that they're printed. But is it flying off shelves for random people that are trying to prank me, I guess? But
yeah,
I'm not seeing otherwise.
Yeah, it's this year's top joke present, top gift, mock destination, I'll tell you. I haven't tried the wine yet, but I'd like to have it. I hear average things about it, and I hear average things about all of her wine, in fact, all of her products. But we'll watch as ever, like a hawk, going forward. I do believe I'm doing your podcast. Recollections may vary tomorrow, so I look forward to that. In the meantime, thank you very much for another excellent missive from the West Coast, Kinsey. Kinsey Schofield there, host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered, with all the latest goings on in the royal family. Do you think Harry will? Do you think the King will open the Invictus Games in 2027? I've got my doubts. Will the King put up Harry, Meghan and the kids when they come over? Is Meghan going to come in a couple of months, a few months for her first visit in 5 years to Britain? What do you think? 03444991000. Or are we being spun up a storm by the Montecito spin machine, by the Sussex's spin machine? What do you think? 03444991000. Let's go to break. When we come back, your phone calls, your messages. I'm not sure if we've got any WhatsApp voice notes, but I'll check that out. But you've got the floor for the next half an hour, and after that, Petri Hoskin will take over the helm with the Good Ship Talk and take you through to 1 a.m. So half an hour of top quality broadcasting involving you, starring you, still to come. Stick around.
To wake up. Islamists are laughing at us. They are using our rights and our freedoms to basically expose to their other Islamists how weak and decadent the West is. We need to stand up for that. And we need to also look into activist judges. You know, there are judges who celebrated the Rwanda defeat of the Tory government and others. Judges' independence must be sacrosanct, but there must be an independent panel when you have clear cases of bias or activism or loony things like this, that they get investigated, sanctioned and maybe even dismissed.
Across the UK, on on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We've got lots of WhatsApp voice notes, so let's kick off with one. This is a great sounding guy. It's Kev on. He wants to talk about the Twitter ban.
Evening, Kev. My opinion on X. Basically, if the Labour Party or Keir Starmer post anything on Facebook, probably 60 to 70% of the comments are negative. On X, if Keir Starmer posts anything, 99% against him. It's amazing every time he posts some rubbish that everyone just absolutely rips apart. It's predominantly a right-wing service, so I think that's why they want it banned.
I think Kev's got a point. I mean, the point about Twitter, X, I don't know, old Elon Musk, I'm going to change the name to X. Nobody calls it X. It's Twitter, isn't it? Although its official name is now X. But as Kev quite rightly says, most of the people on Twitter is known to be, shall we say, home to people who are right of centre, not perhaps this Labour government's greatest fans, and therefore it is a forum, very much a forum for people to express their dismay over this socialist government. And perhaps that is what Keir Starmer and Liz Kendall, the technology minister, don't like about it. You know, it's so disingenuous, isn't it, when they all stand up polishing their halos, Kendall, Starmer, Peter Kyle. This is to protect women and children. There's nothing else. There's no other reason for it. We're not buying that. You know, it's good to protect women and children, and nobody is approving of what Grok is doing to women. That is a bad thing, and it should be stopped. Is it a reason to close down the biggest social media site in the world in Britain to make us look like North Korea or Burma or Russia or something? Is that a reason to make us look like some kind of tyrannical dictatorship by closing down this forum for free speech? Of course it isn't. Of course it isn't. It's bad, but it's not the worst thing you've ever heard of. I mean, hardcore porn, paedophile porn, these are the sort of things that really, really we should be up in arms about. But, you know, taking women's heads and putting bikinis on the bottom of their necks that aren't their bodies, that's awful. It's an intrusion. It's an intrusion on women's dignity. It's an intrusion on their privacy. And it must be a horrible experience for it to happen to you. But, you know, we've all seen worse. We've seen a lot worse. Hardcore porn is worse. If kids see hardcore porn, that's what the government should be worried about. So, yeah, I think Kev has got a big point. What this is really about is, A, Twitter is full of people criticising the government, and Keir Starmer doesn't like that. And B, Twitter is owned by this Labour government's worst enemy, Elon Musk. They loathe Elon Musk. He loathes them, and therefore they're threatening to close down his social media site. Let's hope they don't do that. But good point by Kev there, I think. Let's go to the phones now. Let's talk to Joan in Sunderland, who's had just about enough of net zero. We all have, Joan. What would you like to say?
Well, I'm just thinking if we actually got away with the figures that they said, we've got away lightly. Because we all know what government schemes are when they give contracts out. Look how much the HS2 got. £1 million for a bat cave. How many
bat cave?
Yeah, 1 million for a bat cave, you know, and you usually find three.
Well, Batman's got to have some. Batman and Robin have got to have somewhere to live, you know. No, I know what you meant. That was to protect threatened bats, wasn't it? You know, wildlife. They spent a lot of money on that. I mean, I'm all for protecting wildlife, but the money this government spends on pretty much everything is eye-watering. The idea that this country can afford £4.5 trillion over the next 25 years for windmills and solar panel farms is just ludicrous. It's ludicrous. We can't afford that, Joan. We'll go bankrupt.
Well, did you see after the storm the blades lying on the ground that had been torn off the windmills?
Is that right?
And the solar farm in bits?
I didn't see that, but it doesn't surprise me. Well, because of the cold snap, because it was so cold. Is that what it was? Well, you see, there you go. There you go. I mean, in actual fact, you've hit on a good point. Can't remember the exact lifespan, but these windmills, these giant windmills, they don't last very long. They've got a kind of shelf life. So they'll continue to cost us money. Presumably that's all part and parcel of this £4.5 trillion. But you know that in these figures, these are official government figures, by the way, that we, Joan, British citizens, will be expected over 25 years to shell out £585 billion, you know, in things like converting from gas boilers to heat pumps. I'm not going to do that. Are you?
I'll not be here. I'm nearly 86.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to put this, but lucky you, if you know what I mean, because it seems to me we are hurtling full speed into a kind of abyss of insanity that is going to ruin this country. But seriously, heat pumps don't work. We're supposed to get rid of our very effective gas boilers, install heat pumps and be freezing.
Well, can you tell me why nobody seems to wonder where Ed is? He's very quiet in his endeavours. Does anybody open his office door?
I've got some bad news for you. I've got some very bad news for you. There is a very strong rumour going around Parliament that potentially within weeks this deranged lunatic Ed Miliband could be the Chancellor of the Exchequer. That doesn't bear thinking about, does it?
It doesn't. Well, we don't need him, and we certainly don't need Red Ange, because she's another one that drives everybody wild.
She certainly does. She's in disgrace, but nobody seems to have told her. She didn't get the memo. She's on manoeuvres. Ed Miliband's on manoeuvres. Shabana Mahmood's on manoeuvres. West Streeting's on manoeuvres. You name it. They are lining up to stab Starmer in the back and take over his job. And the thing about Starmer is it's hard to imagine anybody worse as our MP. But if you think about Angela Rayner, Ed Miliband, and maybe a couple of the others, they could be even worse.
Well, as I say, they're on manoeuvres. I know where I'd like to manoeuvre them.
Out of power. I couldn't agree with you more, Joan. Joan, really good to talk to you, with you all the way, as always. Joan Sunderland, Joan in Sunderland. That's not her name. Joan in Sunderland, really excellent caller, always makes good points. Let me read some of these messages we've got here. Well, Heather says Elon Musk can cancel the Labour government and the Prime Minister can cancel their accounts on X. Well, they could do that. But if X doesn't exist, it won't really matter, will it? Neil says, funny how Yvette Cooper is tweeting this. She tweeted about not shooting Iranian protesters to death. Funny how Yvette is tweeting this, even though they want X banned. Labour should just shut up. They literally have nothing of value to say. I agree with that. But yeah, you're right. They're going on to Twitter to talk about how awful things are in Iran. Not strongly enough, in my view, while talking about banning Twitter. Paul talks about Nadeem Zahawi, the former Tory Chancellor who's now defected to Reform UK. Paul says Nadeem is a bad choice. He is arrogant and pushed for lockdowns and the COVID passport system. He should not be in Reform. I mean, this is the problem for me with Nadeem Zahawi, is like all of these Tories who defect, I mean, they were part of the Conservative government that wrecked this country for 14 years with dreadful policies about virtually everything. You know, we are lost in net zero madness because of Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson sort of turbocharged our net zero obsession. I mean, Theresa May was just as bad. She's the one who made it law. It's enshrined in law that we have to get to net zero by 2050. What the hell is that all about? Thanks, Theresa. Then you get Boris Johnson, who now admits he was a bit too over the top about his green enthusiasm, and so on and so forth. Plus their migrant policies, they were a disaster. So we got all these former Tories saying, oh, this country's disaster, it's gone to hell in a handcart. Yeah. Who set the ball rolling? Who set us on course to go to hell in a handcart? The Tories. So there is a problem here. Reform UK hiring more or accepting more and more of these defectors into their ranks. The people supporting Reform UK basically saying, we didn't decide to vote for Reform UK if you're going to fill the party with these people we've rejected from the Tory party. So interesting times. Here's Dave. If the government cancel X, who will the police arrest? Will they start solving actual crimes, or will they just be laid off? I think they'll just be laid off, Dave, because if they can't, they certainly don't patrol the streets. They love to patrol the tweets, and if we get rid of Twitter, they'll have nothing to patrol, will they? Good point, good point. Let's talk to regular caller, excellent caller, Herbie in Harrow. Hi, Herbie.
Good evening, Kevin. Happy New Year. I spoke to you since last year.
Have we not? I thought I did wish you happy. Well, of course, Happy New Year. What would I do without you, Herbie? Seriously, what do you think of Zahawi joining Reform?
I fear that Reform may be bringing in the enemy from within, and very much the backstabbers which are now accumulating into Reform. I know we need the expertise to help the country or help the party grow, and I understand. But what people don't realise, that a lot of these MPs come in with no experience at all anyway. So what difference does it make? You know, they gain the experience with the advisors that they're supposed to have employed it to help them and guide them. Most of them don't have a clue how to run anything anyway. They never run a business in their life, most of them.
Well, to be fair, Nadeem Zahawi has. He's a very successful businessman. His problem is he had one or two tax difficulties. Let's not beat about the bush. He had to leave the political scene because he didn't pay his taxes. Simple as that. Therefore, there's a sort of dodgy element to this guy as well. But he's the latest of these top Tories to join Reform and say the country is destroyed, it's ruined, it's going to hell in a handcart, as if the only people responsible are Labour since July the 5th, whenever it was, last July the 5th. Well, that isn't, you know, yes, you know, Labour are responsible for a lot of this chaos, this dysfunctional disaster that we find ourselves trapped in at the moment. But who built the blueprint for this disaster? It was 14 years of dreadful Tories, dreadful Tory governments, Tories, Conservatives who forgot what the Conservative Party is supposed to be all about.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, Kevin, the problem is that, you know, we don't know what they're going to be like. We don't know how they're going to perform. Should Nigel get in, hopefully he does. We do need him. How would they behave and how would they perform? You've got to go by their track record of what they did when he was in the Conservatives. How did they go about supporting issues that Nigel's very much up front for? And do they dislike, well, they certainly disliked him having to leave the EU in the first place, and most of the Tories. So, you know, what's this going to do now? You know, I think Nigel's bringing in the enemy, as I said, within, and the backstabbers are already in place then. That's the problem I can see. I really do.
Yeah, and if you take someone like Nadeem Zahawi, the danger here is, I've got a lot of time for Nigel Farage, by the way, and his party, although I don't, you know, don't support any particular party. I try to remain neutral as a balanced presenter, but the danger, what I think Nigel Farage has to do, as a matter of urgency, is to articulate why he thinks it's a good idea for Nadeem Zahawi, for example, to join Reform UK, to explain to his supporters why it's not such a bad thing for these Tories to keep joining, because I can tell you from my switchboard here, Herbie, a lot of Reform supporters are very, very disillusioned by today's events and other people who have joined Reform in the past. Nadine Dorris did not go down a storm, to say the least. So I think he should be careful to try to explain what's going on here, don't you think?
Oh, totally. I mean, so I was with him on Friday. I saw him on Friday, you know, with the first conference of the 2006, and it was absolutely packed to the rafters. And I think that the party and its supporters, or you know, the executives must explain to the supporters why they are doing this and what is the reason behind it. You know, can we not find our own people to run the party as it should be? Have we not got supporters to do that? You know,
I think to an extent, Herbie, I was saying this earlier in the show. Here's the deal. In defence of some of these Tories who are defecting, not all of them, but some of them, if you're a natural Conservative, like my friend Dame Andrea Jenkins, she and other Tories, they're traditional old school Conservatives. Yep. And they felt it wasn't so much them leaving the Tory party as the Tory party had left them. You know, Andrea, people like her, people like Danny Kruger, they didn't ever support green net zero claptrap. They didn't ever support the Tories' ostensible open border policy. They never did. They're traditional Tories, and Reform UK offer traditional Tories traditional conservatism. That's really what Reform UK are. They're what the Tory party used to be before a bunch of bedwetters got hold of it and started worrying about Labour and saying, ooh, we better be net zero, we better be nice to the migrants, you know, otherwise people won't vote for us. The biggest mistake in political history, right?
Correct, absolutely correct. Kevin, we are living in very difficult and strange times, and you know, unless we get this country sorted out and get rid of this damn government that's creating its own problems and creating us a nightmare, we're going to be paying a very, very heavy price, not only just for defectors coming over from one party to another, but with the people having to run the country to put it back to where it needs to be. This is the problem we're going to have and face.
Yeah, Reform have got one hell of a mountain to climb, but we need change in this country, and if it's to be Reform, anything other than this two-party system, we've all had enough of it. Herbie, great to talk to you as always. Before I go to break, it is time now to find out how you could be in with a chance of winning a trip of a lifetime to San Francisco. Talk is giving away flights, a 3-night stay at a 4-star Intercontinental Hotel, and £2,500 spending money, plus tickets to the Super Bowl to top it all off. Listen to this and find out how you can enter.
For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343-418-7260. Lines close 22nd January 2026, 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at TalkSport.com. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
need to wake up. Islamists are laughing at us. They are using our rights and our freedoms to basically expose to their other Islamists how weak and decadent the West is. We need to stand up for that. And we need to also look into activist judges. You know, there are judges who celebrated the Rwanda defeat of the Tory government and others. Judges' independence must be sacrosanct, but there must be an independent panel when you have clear cases of bias or activism or loony things like this, that they get investigated, sanctioned and maybe even dismissed.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. WhatsApp voice notes. Here's Ray on the West Midlands Police Chief Craig Guildford.
Hi, Kev. I don't think the Chief Constable of the West Mids should resign or be sacked. I think he should be prosecuted for malfeasance in public office. And if he's convicted, then he will lose his pension, which is what he deserves.
Ray, that is a good point, that is. Well said, Ray. Yeah, I mean, this guy, if what he's being accused of is true, that he just told lies to Parliament when he was called before that committee, yeah, you know, you can't do that. You're a police chief. You're a chief constable. Perhaps prosecution might be in line. Here's another WhatsApp voice note. Martin on the X ban.
Okay, this banning of Twitter, or X as it's now called, it's a bit ridiculous when you've been able to do this with images for years. I've been in groups where people, their face on a picture or somebody else's face, you know, having a bit of banter and all that sort of thing. This is Labour deflecting. They're trying to throw a dead cat on the table, basically, I think, with this one.
Yeah, also they want to kick Elon Musk, who they hate. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk first to Christian in Northwich. Hi, Christian.
Hi, Kev. Nice to speak. So, yeah, thanks for having me on. It's
all right, sure.
Here.
Oh, well, yeah. Welcome. What would you like to say?
I just wanted to talk about the Nadhim Zahawi, obviously going to Reform. Again, Reform have got their own sort of policy of who they want to take on. It seems they're sort of keen for ex-Conservatives. But all I would say is he was very keen on promoting the vaccine. And I think one of the things that we need to take a step back and look at when we consider this holistically is that the Great Barrington Declaration was completely ignored and censored when we looked at how we should manage this problem. So we're only given one side of the story. And again, I don't want to go into too much detail, but if we look at this as a risk assessment, we didn't do the social and economic impact to UK PLC. And I think we can all see the impact of that to the NHS, to society, and how that has, we had the long waiting lists and everything else. So it was fear, terror, it was propaganda, and I think we need to learn from that. Again, I'm not trying to point the finger, but I just sort of think in a free society these things should not happen. And I think there have been conclusions since that further on. And again, there was a report from the Alliance of Indigenous Nations that I implore people to look at to find their own information. There are some things contained within there that can be a bit conspiratorial. I don't get drawn into that. I look at the science of it and sort of say that there's so much evidence that suggests that this was the wrong approach. So
yeah, I mean, this is the problem with the Conservatives, or those people who are in Conservative government, was, you know, their net zero policies weren't Conservative, their migration policies were definitely not Conservative, and as you say, Nadhim Zahawi and the rest of the gang, you know, all took part in this massive crackdown on us during the so-called COVID crisis, where I think everybody now knows they went way over the top and they were way too enthusiastic about taking away our freedom. So all of those problems in terms of their background, I think are very valid. Christian, good first call. Call me again. Let's quickly listen to our last WhatsApp voice note. It's Tom on Ed Miliband.
Ed Miliband and net zero. I don't think he's mad. I think he's actually malign. When you think back to when he was leader of the Labour Party and the old business of the Ed Stone and the bacon sandwich, I think he was humiliated. And I think he's absolutely furious and angry with the British population, and he wants to punish us. I can't think of any other explanation for this total irrationality of how he's behaving and the madness of net zero.
I take your point, Tom. I think he's probably malign and mad. Interesting theory about why he's malign. He's furious with us because we all think he's an idiot. I do think he probably thinks he's the genius and all the rest of us are morons and we don't understand the beauty of net zero. Well, the thing is, Ed, we do. You're the one who's got it all wrong. Good WhatsApp voice note from Tom there. And as is becoming a tradition on this show, we will finish with a phone call from our favourite caller, Georgina in London. Hi, Georgina.
Hi, good evening, Kevin. Well, it's just a quick call. I'm actually gobsmacked. How dare the Labour government use our children as an excuse to cancel X? If any of these Labour MPs were at all interested in the safety of our British children, the Pakistani rape gang scandal would have been sorted out long ago. But they couldn't care less, Kevin. And the abuse of these British children is still ongoing today. It just goes to show, my love, doesn't it, how low the Labour Party will stoop to stop our freedom of information and our freedom of speech. When, you know, they can't help our children from getting raped. They can't stop that, but they can hide behind our children.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, Georgina.
Insidious narrative.
It's exactly what it is. We're trying to protect children, women and children here. Well, to an extent, you know, fair enough, they are. But more to the point, I think they're trying to put Elon Musk, the owner of X, in his place. This is the latest sort of exchange of fire in the ongoing war between Labour and Elon Musk. That's what this is really about, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I've come to expect them to tell lies. As we all know, they're physically incapable of telling the truth. But I do take exception, Kevin, when they insult the intelligence of me, you, and the rest of the British people.